Well, y'all, we've got a real treat for you tonight, so I am not going to waste any time. We're gonna switch over to the main scene here. Hey, what's going on? Let's get some tunes going in the background. Hopefully, not too loud. That's immediately it went to full volume when I said that. And y'all, some of y'all may remember this. Let me get David unmuted here. But last year we did the first of my new series of interviews with David Diley here. David, for those that weren't here for that, would you just take a moment and tell everybody what it is you do?
Okay, so I'm an underwater filmmaker, specializing in working with sharks. So, underwater cinematographer primarily, and that can be anything from commercial jobs, wildlife documentaries, feature films, short films. Basically, I've got the best job in the world. I get paid to go on adventures underwater and go and hang around with sharks and do crazy things with sharks
Yeah,
and
I'm not jealous at
capture it
all.
all on film. It's the best.
I was telling the community last night. Actually, I can't remember if I did. I tell you this last time that actually when I thought about the timeline of it, your movie came out in 2015, right? And
Yeah.
it was 2017 that I saw it. I'm fairly certain. I'm like 99.999% sure that seeing of Shark and Man was what got me to go out and say, "F it, I'm gonna go get scuba certified."
Do you know, I've heard that a lot,
Yeah.
because the film got its full international release in 2017. And a very, very good friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, and you will have seen her for photographs, I guarantee it. But she's a shark photographer based out in the US called Tanya Hoppermans. And she
I'm
ended up
actually
doing
not
a
familiar
couple
with the
of
name. I'm gonna look her up on socials
she
right
does.
now.
She specialised with the sand tigers in North Carolina. So some incredible photography of the sand tigers out in North Carolina. And then she ended up doing a couple of National Geographic documentaries and things like that. And she's the best. She's her and I are incredibly well. We're that close. We're going to Paris together in May. But she worked in the military at the time, and she was big diver. Really wanted to get into underwater photography. Was really passionate about sharks, and she saw of Shark and Man, and it was that kind of encouraged her to leave her job and basically do the same thing that I did as well. And then she went on to be incredibly successful, unbelievably talented. She's my favorite underwater photographer and just an amazing person. I love Tanya. But there's been a lot of people that have told me that. And I think the kind of everyman aspect of it, the just whole kind of, fuck it, I'm going to go and do it. I can't let it, I
Well, I
can't
can't
put it
stress
off.
enough. It's not like I saw the movie and I was like, well, if this guy can do it, you know. But more so like I grew up knowing for sure I'm gonna be a marine biologist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like since like kindergarten, that was it. And my mother, like she means well, but of course, like we're at an aquarium, and she's like, you know, that means you're gonna have to get out there and like go scuba dive, right? And we had gone to Mexico. I fell off a banana boat, and a shark brushed my foot, and I was like, we're never getting in water where I can't see the bottom again. So at that point, I was like, well, what else can I do? How about I ended up doing video game design and a bunch of other stuff. Um, so I just kind of wrote off the possibility of it because I was terrified of the idea of and I found out later that it's not even the animals I'm afraid of. It's the not being able to see and not knowing what's down there, having your head above water, and still I get a little tense like when just looking at the surface. But the moment we're in the water, I'm like, this is the best thing ever.
I
Um,
think that's a natural thing, though.
yeah,
I
it's the
think
fear of the unknown,
I,
which you can't see.
I had an experience in Australia, at a place called Southwest Rocks, which is full of sand tiger sharks, but gets visited by you get a lot of duskies there. You get bulls, hammerheads, tigers, great whites, and what had happened was, so I'd done the dive and I'd surfaced on the correct mooring line, but the group that were diving and they were diving the same site, but I was kind of off on my own doing my own thing. They'd all surfaced at the wrong mooring,
Oh no.
so the rib had to go and collect them, and
Yeah.
that was about maybe 300 or 400 meters away. So the rig was all the way over there with this big queue of divers trying to get on it, and I'm floating around on my own in the like kind of in the middle of the ocean, which is full of
Ugh.
sharks. at the surface, just waiting for them. And there was a sport fishing boat as well, about 100 yards in front of me, and they were pulling fish out constantly. So you're thinking there's this fishing boat with these struggling fish. There's sharks everywhere. I know that because I've just been down there filming them. And then, but my boat is all the way over there, and I was waiting for about 10 minutes for that rib to come and pick me up. And you do start feeling a little bit kind of like, actually, I'm ready to kind of get out now. If I
Yeah,
was
I'd
underwater,
imagine it
it's
feels a
fine.
lot like it does when you're playing like Grand Theft Auto and you go swim too far offshore and you're just waiting for that big shark to come eat you. You know?
Yeah, I think it's a totally natural thing. If I was underwater, no problem at all. Absolutely no. But because you're at the surface and because you're kind of looking around and because it's deep as well, you're only really seeing blue. You're not
Yeah,
seeing the bottom. So you've got no concept of how what the visibility actually is, of how far ahead of you you can actually see.
yeah. Like even
So
when
it's
we're
a
doing
big
like a
shark.
drift
Like,
dive and I can, I can see the bottoms down at like 100 feet and maybe I'm at 30, but I can faintly see it. That doesn't bother me at all. But
yeah,
even still, just being at the surface and just seeing nothing, it doesn't bother me like it used to. But I guess there's a slight unease to that. But that is just to say that like I was getting into. I think I had seen Shark Water soon before that, so it was apparent to me that there was a need for advocacy. You know what I mean? I was like, okay,
yeah.
this is something I probably should use this knowledge I have on the subject to do some good. But I mean, that means I'm gonna have to go get dive certified. And I saw your movie, and it was like, this is a sign. Here's a guy talking about his process of going from something completely unrelated to I'm gonna go chase this dream to film sharks. And I was like, maybe I'm not gonna do that, but I should start with diving, and totally got addicted to it like most people do.
I think that's
So thank
one
you
of
for
my
that.
favorite things that ever came out of that film. I mean, I built a career off the back of it. It's still really popular now. I still get contacted about it all the time now. But what's amazing is to hear all these people that saw it and thought, um, and not just in the sense of going and doing something with sharks or with diving. It was people who saw it that maybe didn't want to do something with sharks or with diving, but they pursued their own kind of passion, the thing that they've been interested in, just because they saw somebody that they could relate to, someone that they felt was just like them doing it, and thought, I'm going to give this a go as well. It inspired them enough for that. And I never went into it with the idea of being, the whole point of this film is to inspire people to change their lives. The idea was to go and create a film that's just authentic and honest, and then hopefully it has a positive impact on some people in regard to how they feel about sharks or how they feel about themselves as well. Because it's a human story, it's a personal story, and that's what I always try and do with my films, is that relate the stories of the animals to people, because that helps people relate to the animals better, because you don't relate to anything better than other human beings. So that's why when it comes to conservation, if I'm working in something to do with conservation, I don't like to focus too much on the negative aspects, the doom and gloom. I
Yeah,
focus on people that are making a difference and doing great things. And look, positive change works. So we know that things are pretty bad, but look at these people doing incredible things. If we do incredible things, then these amazing things could come from it.
yeah. All
So
you
I've
got to do
always
is
tried to
inspire
be
some more
that
people to
kind
do
of.
some incredible things.
Yeah, and there are so many amazing things going on in the world now, but I think negativity sells more than positivity. I really believe that. And you just scroll through TikTok, and it's people that there's so much negativity, and so much complaining about things, and
The
so
negative
much
voices are definitely
uh,
louder. That's the way I put
division.
it. The algorithm favors that stuff so much just because you get
Yeah,
that gut reaction of, oh, I need to comment on this. And like,
that's
they'll
it.
still get me today. Like, I had interviewed a guy in here recently who, Spencer is his name, Spencer Roberts. Uh, he got the city of Miami Beach to change the regulations for land-based shark fishing, where they can't use like heavy gear for land-based shark fishing. And man, if that didn't get like, I have so many haters now just for having him on the stream. So then here's all these mentions of that now on different social media accounts of these shark fishermen, and even I'm still falling for that stuff every now and then. Like they'd say something totally way off base, and I'd be like, hold on a minute. and I'm like, oh, I just fell for the trap again, you know? Like,
It's how it works. People they get angry at something that they see online, and then they comment because you feel like you have to have your voice heard. But
yeah.
those comments then feed into the system, and then it's like, oh, okay, so you want
Well,
more of
that
this
got a lot of
stuff.
engagement. Let's do more of
Yeah, and
that.
it encourages people to make more of it. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, effectively, which is, and I'm a human being. I fall for it sometimes as well. I see things that, and I always try to. I mean, my life now for the last kind of 12 months, 10, 11 months has just been so positive and so good, and just everything about my life is going great right now. And I'll put on TikTok and I'll be scrolling through and I'll be like, don't let negativity into your life. Don't
Yeah.
don't feed into it, because then you get into the conversation and then it's the back and forth. So I just try and focus on positive things and putting good things out into the world, as opposed to feeding the machine of negativity, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah. So, one of our members of chat right now, Sir Yogiwan, was telling me recently there's a place near them in Australia, right? That I should go check out. And I think it was they said that's the place I said you'd love near me. I think they're referring to West Rocks that you just name dropped there.
Oh, Southwest Rocks.
Yeah,
It's my second favorite dive site in the world so far.
really, that's a stellar review.
It's a phenomenal place. So you drop in, go over this nice reef, and then you come into this canyon where there's a cave that runs through the rock. And this cave is only quite narrow, but I think it's about 100 yards long, 100 feet long, 100 meters long, something like that. And it's quite narrow, but it is full of sand tiger sharks. So
Mm.
you get when one time when I went in there, I was the first in, and I've got big lights on my camera setup. So I went in there and then switched the lights on. And there was probably about 20 of these sand tiger sharks, all just kind of like, they were startled because these big bright lights came on. And you can work your way through, and you're literally moving sharks out of the way to get from one end to the other. It's a fantastic place. It's wild diving. It's not too far offshore. Um, the visibility is generally pretty good. We were lucky. We had good visibility for the 3 days that we were there.
Is that where you filmed that clip that you just
The
showed me?
cave, yeah, that's
Nice.
Southwest Rocks. It's a
Should we watch that
great
since
dive
we're
site.
kind of on the topic right now?
Sorry?
Should we go? Should we play that while
Yeah,
we're talking about
sure,
it?
sure. Yeah,
Here, let me shrink
definitely.
us down a little bit. Where's my camera? There it is. Yoink. Okay.
But it's one of them sites where you go down, you are going to see sharks, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's a great
This is
place.
something we were talking about. I don't remember what night it was, but I think it was actually this week. We were talking about um, how sand tigers are such a popular aquarium fish because they look so menacing, but they're really super placid.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, there we go. Let's have a look at that. So this is Scarlet View Media. This is David's brand, and you shot this at Southwest Rocks.
Southwest Rocks in 2019.
See, they look so gnarly. It's hard to believe they're just as calm as a catfish.
And you just have all those fish there as well, which create this beautiful backdrop. They just, it's just so much life there. It's unbelievable.
And that tail just smacked the lens there, didn't it?
Yeah.
I would love to see sand tigers up close and personal.
Oh, they're great.
So what's the viz right here? It looks fairly murky. Is it like 20 feet?
It was probably, yeah, probably about, I would say about 20 feet here. I mean, this was actually a different dive site. So what this little film was, I have an exercise. So when I go out to do a job for a client, I'll get tons and tons of footage, and not all of it can make the finished piece. So you end up with a
Right.
lot on the cutting room floor. So what I do as an exercise to keep my editing chops up, basically, is pick a piece of music that has a certain mood to it, and then I'll go through footage that maybe didn't make it into the finished piece, and then I force myself to try and come up with some kind
Oh,
of
look at the
quite loose
waves, move them.
story that I can edit it together so it has some kind of at least flow to it or story, kind of a beginning, a middle, and an end. To use that footage to create a different little project, and that's what this is. Um,
Very cool.
so this is all Southwest Rocks, but you always have those fish, the huge schools of those fish there as well, and they create such a nice kind of backdrop. It's just so busy. The frame has always got something in it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I used to do something similar with social media videos where like I'd go find a copyright free song and try to like time my cuts of drone videos and stuff to
Yeah.
that to make it kind of flow well with it. But you know, social media is a completely different animal. So these days, I just kind of I make it sans music and just add the quick music additions that you can put in there if I use music at all. I've had better luck with voiceovers actually.
It's a great exercise doing this to get you to figure out how to create a mood, because you let the music dictate the mood and the ambience of the
Yeah,
piece. So
and yeah, you
that
nailed
music's
it.
then going to dictate the pacing of the edit. It's going to dictate the look, and it's just a really good kind of creative exercise to do.
It's funny because like there is this sort of intensity to it here, just with the shadows, the sharks emerging out of the darkness with these pointy teeth here. I don't want to say it's like too over exaggerative like you see on like Shark Week or something like that, but it really paints a picture quite well
Yeah.
because I could also see that like if I muted this right now, I could go play Under the Sea and it'd be a totally different vibe and I'd be like, I want to go in there and
Exactly,
dive right now.
exactly. I would recommend, and I always do recommend it to people, that if they're interested in filmmaking or making little edits and things like that, to do this, to get footage and let the music dictate the mood
Yeah.
of the piece. It's going to dictate the length of it. It's going to dictate the pacing of the edit. It's going to dictate how you color the footage. It's just going to dictate everything, and the story as well. Because music, because I spent 10 years as a professional musician as well. Music and
I want to
film are
pick
the
your brain
same
about
thing. It's a
that.
story. Great piece of music has, and we were talking about this the other day, like Master of Puppets, for example. It's a perfect example of taking the listener on a journey. There's peaks and troughs, there's valleys and everything in it, and it's the same thing with a movie. You don't just go, here's the hero, and then everything's brilliant for him, and then here's the end of the film. You have to take people on this journey. It's manipulation of emotion, basically.
So the same person, Sir Yogi One, said to ask if you have dove Split Solitary or Coffs Harbor.
No, but I'm just talking to a friend of mine out in Australia at the moment, and we're planning a project for next year where we want to do a road trip from Queensland down to Port Lincoln. And I've still not seen a white shark yet. And my number one dream is to be doing a dive and have a white shark just turn up. Um, Now, I've kind of promised myself if it's not this year, it's going to be next year that I see my first white shark. I've promised myself.
Man, I don't want to
So what
jinx
we're
it, but
doing,
I'm crossing my fingers right now because right now I was droning Sunday and I saw the black tips come in. And so
mm,
they're everywhere. The black tips and the spinner sharks are here, which means the white sharks are right behind them somewhere. And
yeah,
I'm actually doing a charity with a friend in May, but I'm going out to do some filming with the charity group in a couple of weeks, actually the 10th. This group takes veterans diving with sharks. Well, they do several dives, but one of them happens to be with sharks. And so fingers crossed. You never know. It's a non-zero chance one could show up.
yeah. There's more and more turning up in Florida lately, particularly in your part of in your part of Florida as well.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I'm in South Africa this our summer, their winter. So there's a possibility there. But what we're planning to do for next year is a road trip from Queensland to Port Lincoln, and then stopping off on the way and doing loads and loads of different dive sites, and then doing a YouTube, like an episodic YouTube series. So maybe 12, 15, 20-minute episodes for each location. So doing all these
Okay.
dives, shore dives, boat dives, ending up with doing the liverboard option with Rodney Fox out
Oh,
in the Neptunes. And one of the dives that we've got on the itinerary is in Coffs Harbour.
is
So
that the
I've not
one
done
where
it
they
yet,
take
but
doesn't Rodney Fox do the one where they sink the cage all the way
yeah,
down?
the bottom cage, yeah. Yeah,
Oh
so
man,
that's what appeals to me particularly about it. That
that's
bottom
yeah, and
cage.
it's all kelp down there, right?
Yeah, it looks fantastic. So I'd much rather my first white shark just turn up. But I've told myself if it's not this year, it's next year. So if it doesn't happen in South Africa, then I'm going to give myself pretty much a guarantee that it's going to be next year. But excuse me, that's a project that we're just currently working through at the moment. How to get the logistics sorted, how to raise the finance for it. But I love Australia. Australia's an amazing place. I would
Yeah,
move there
it's
tomorrow if I could.
I
But
get that.
to
It's
answer
high on
the
my
guy's
list.
question, yeah, Coffs Harbour is on the itinerary for that.
Yeah, I would absolutely. I'd say that probably. I mean, like if like you said, if finances weren't an issue, then the top two things on my list would be go see whale sharks and probably mantas if you can do both at the same time, and go dive with Rodney Fox. I would
Yeah.
absolutely love to do that. But going from here to Australia and doing that and staying in Australia and all of that stuff is a big lift for somebody on a Twitch stream budget.
It's not a cheap place to get to, but it's just worth it. And Aust- the thing with Australia is it's like a big open air free zoo. There's just wildlife everywhere, and the people are amazing. Australia's just got everything. It's such an incredible place. It's got incredible weather. It's got incredible wildlife. The people have just got this great attitude about them, whereby they're just friendly. They're just real and authentic. I landed in Australia and immediately felt at home there. I
Really,
love the place. I think it's amazing.
that's cool. That's high praise. How many times have you been?
Just once. I was there for a month shooting something for Panasonic, and it was that kind of experience whereby it's one of those experiences that I'll remember when I'm 90 years old. If I ever get to 90 years old, it'll still be right up there as one of the best things that I ever did. So I'm desperate to get back next year, and just the thought of getting into a camper van and just doing a road trip down the coast and just
Yeah,
having an adventure and stopping off and diving and meeting great people. And the only downside about Australia is the spiders. I do
the
not
big
like
huntsman
spiders. One
spiders.
bit. Yeah, I was there for a month and I only saw one, and it was a golden orb, and it was about 10 meters away in a tree. I managed to avoid the huntsman and all that kind of stuff. So
We get those
I'd
yellow
like
orb
to
weavers here.
repeat
They're
that
about
next
like
time I'm
that.
back. Yeah, it's just, but you go. I went to North Stradbroke, and you just see. We woke up one morning, went on the balcony, and there's 6 or 7 kangaroos just in the front garden, just by the
Whoa.
car. There's koalas crossing the road, giant pythons on the road. It's just such a brilliant place. Australia's amazing.
Yeah, I've heard so many stories of like friends who went there and then didn't end up seeing any wildlife because they stayed in like the developed areas. You know, they're like, oh,
Mm.
they don't get out. They're not the type to go out and explore and see the wild places. But Australia has a lot to offer, and I would absolutely do anything to go there.
Yeah, I did Byron Bay. I loved Byron Bay. I think Brisbane is my favourite city on earth. There's just so many great things about Australia, and I would say the same about Florida. I love Florida. I think Florida is kind of similar in a way in terms of the wildlife. I got such a kick out of being in Florida and seeing just alligators everywhere, just kind of hanging around on this, like yeah. I visited. What was it called? Shark Valley, is it?
Park Valley.
I'm sure it's called Shark Valley. It's part of the Everglades. Um,
Oh
and,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we went there, and you see all the terrapins and turtles in the water, and there's a pathway, and just on the side of the pathway is this big alligator just chilling.
Yeah,
It's
actually,
brilliant.
I'm gonna give a shout out to a friend real quick who I made friends with a streamer who studies crocodiles down there in the Everglades, and he was telling me about this place. I just looked it up, And he showed me this observation tower they have there. Um, where's a good picture of it? There we go. This is an observation tower they have at that Shark Valley location. It just looks awesome. They've set up this huge tower above the tree line so you can
Oh, cool.
just see everything in all its glory. And then there's like a second level that you can get up to. Isn't that neat?
It's a great place. That's awesome. It's
Yeah,
it
no,
again.
I've
Florida's got that wild side to it.
and the invasives make it even all the more interesting.
Yeah.
Because we could be, I mean, like we just go sit on the patio in the morning, and like there was a day where I've seen manatees out there once, and I saw a mother manatee with a baby, and in the same day, you know, like a great blue heron grabbing a fish out of the water, and then like an iguana walking over from the neighbor's yard. You know? It's just you never know what you're gonna get. It's like Jurassic Park out here.
It's where I live now. I live in kind of very sort of rural northern England, so it's just fields and sheep and things like that.
I
So
was gonna say,
I'll
I hope
see
you like
deer.
sheep.
I'll see deer every now and again. See badgers. I don't see many foxes actually, but it's not. I get excited when I see them, but it's not the kind of wildlife that I'd like. I'd love. I mean, if I was in Florida, I'd be out looking for alligators all the time. Alligators
Yeah.
and snakes and
You know,
and things like
I was
that.
kind of bummed about this. I was telling my wife recently when we first moved here 4 years ago. It's crazy. It's already been 4 years, but there's a little dock off our property on the canal, and I would go sit down there and fish sometimes as the sun set. And there was this little 5 foot juvenile alligator that would come and just kind of stare at me, you know, like it would come like 5 feet away from me and just look at me. And if I sat really still, it would eventually try to come over and take the bobber. And I would just kind of go, "Hey," and it would take off and back up a little. And I haven't seen it in like a year. I'm hoping nobody got him, but we
I
do
mean,
have like
you're so blessed and so lucky to live where you do because
yeah.
you're quite near Jupiter, aren't you?
Yes, I am near like Shark Dive Mecca over here in Jupiter. It's a good. I'm actually that's where I'll be diving out of here soon.
Yeah, I like Jupiter a lot, and I loved my time in Florida. I loved the Keys, Florida Keys, Key West. I think if my top two places that if you said to me you can live anywhere you want in the world, it would be Brisbane, Queensland, or Key West. They're
Key
my
West is
two
awesome until
places.
a hurricane comes. I wouldn't want to be there when
Yeah.
getting out of there on that bridge would be rough. But yeah, it's very cool. We ended up going there in October. So Key West has like a big wild party where the Fantasy Fest they call it.
Yeah.
And so we had this brilliant plan that we were going to go and book a hotel super cheap the day after that ended. And it worked perfectly. We got to stay in this like old historic building for way cheaper than, high season. It worked out really well, but there was still a few like people just plastered stumbling around the town in like a thong or something.
Key West is fascinating because they have it's one street, as you know, that's a straight line street, and they've kind of it's like a gradient of like one
Yeah,
end
Duval Street.
is
Yeah.
very kind of like I guess here we'd call it upper class, sort of people who want art galleries, cafes, and like very quiet and reserved. And as a gradient, it ends up kind of getting a little bit wild. So you've got spring break up that side, and you've got
Yeah.
art galleries, and the way that they do it and they keep it separate is brilliant. And obviously, Ernest,
It's a
Ernest
little
Hemingway's
bit more
house is there as
intermingled
well, isn't
now.
it?
Like you could walk out of an art gallery and go buy some gummies across the street, but then and then there's a bar down the block. It's a little bit mixed up now, but yeah, there is kind of a gradient. And like it's kind of like if you basically you could go start at like the southernmost point, take your tourist photo, and then just start walking south. And there's some cool attractions and restaurants, then the art galleries, and then just the bars.
Yeah,
It's an
I, I, lo-
interesting spot.
I love it there. I think when I was a kid, I used to watch Flipper, the original, the
Oh yeah.
'60s series of Flipper, and they filmed that around Isla Morada and and Key West.
You know, I
And I
never
just
thought of
remember,
where they filmed it.
sorry.
I never thought about where they filmed it. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's Isla or Isla however you pronounce it. Isla and Key West, I think it was. And I think some in Key Largo as well. But I just remember the house that they lived at. And it was this beautiful house, this little kind of single story wooden house that backed on to then it had the pontoon, the jetty, and then it backed onto the lagoon, the mangrove. Just remember thinking, God, like, as a kid, I said, that's where I'm supposed to live.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not supposed
Give
to
me
live
the.
in the city, Manchester. I'm supposed to live there. So for me to actually go and drive through and see that, it's like this is home. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah,
So
give me the Ernest
yeah, I love
Hemingway
Keith.
special, please.
Yeah, I love it, and I love it's got kind of got that sort of wild, slightly kind of redneck. I don't know how offensive that is for me to say, but it's got that kind of redneck
I'm
element
told
to
we're
it.
supposed to say rustic now.
Okay, we'll say rusting. It's got like I like that. I can I like I don't I like I mean I like progress and things like that, but I don't feel particularly at home in big cities. I think getting out where it's a little bit wilder, where it's a little bit more remote and things are a little bit more like humans are supposed to be, if that makes sense, and you've got nature mixing in with it. That's what I love about Australians is that there's no airs and graces with Australians. They're just honest
Yeah.
and they're just real good people. And I'm a huge fan of the States. I'm a huge fan of Australia. In fact, there's very few places I've been that I wasn't particularly keen on. I tend to like everywhere pretty much.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't pick a place you hate to go visit, right? So that kind of
Sometimes
makes
I don't have
sense.
a choice. If I have to go to work there for, if it's a job, although saying that, I can't think of anywhere I've been on a job that I've disliked. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in the Middle East. I love the Middle East. I really, really like the Middle East a lot. Um, obviously, it's not great what's going on there at the moment, but hopefully
Yeah.
that kind of calms down a little bit.
So for people who may not have been here the last time we had the pleasure of having you on the stream, I want to take a second to. I'll shrink our cameras back down, but I want to play the trailer for of Shark and Man. So
Okay.
David made a fantastic and very inspirational movie called Of Shark and Man. That's what originally put him on my radar. And just to give you guys a frame of reference, here's the trailer for that. Let me turn the music off momentarily and we'll get that going.
That it actually happened,
Yeah,
that it's
I can
still kind
imagine.
of a thing.
You're like, oh my God, I did that.
Yeah, yeah, I still get that. I get a kick out of it. I mean, I've not watched it for a while, but it's always really strange when sometimes it comes up that it's showing on TV on certain digital channels, or I'll be scrolling through trying to find a movie, and there it is. Um, it's always interesting as well when I'll look through to try and find recommendations of shark films that I've not seen, and then I'll find kind of lists of like the best shark films ever made or the greatest shark documentary or whatever, and then my films on them lists.
You know what's
It's
crazy to me is
crazy.
actually speaking of that, I just noticed when I was pulling up the trailer just now, there appears to be an account and I don't know if this should be that way or not, but there appears to be an account where your entire movie is on YouTube.
Yes, it is.
Just
That was
watch
licensed
Docu,
out
the
by the
documentary channel.
distributor. Yeah, there's a couple of those where it's licensed out by the distributor.
Okay.
So
Do you mind if
I
I
did
share that
check
link in the
that.
chat here for everybody?
Sure, yeah, by all means. I didn't know it was there, and then
Yeah.
somebody sent me the link a couple of years ago, and it was on like. What was amazing about that was it was on all these. I think it was like at the time it was something like 80,000 views or something, and reading through the comments, and the comments were fantastic. So not knowing it was there, and then going and reading through these comments of these people saying these wonderful things, it was great. It was so great. I'm just looking at your chat now, and I think it's
Hmm.
Moxie and Sparky talking about it. He's saying about my grandparents from Salford, Sparky. That's where my grandparents are from. I was from Urmston in Manchester, and we're all united as well. So I can see them having a conversation between them. So I just thought I'd add myself to that as well. But it's weird watching it just I kind of look at it as this time of my life when that's when my entire life changed.
Hmm.
For one decision, one snap decision, and this ridiculous idea that I'd be able to actually do it. And what amazed me so much, it still amazes me now, is the reaction that people have to it. Like you said, like you're telling me that you saw the film in 2017 and you
And I
had
said,
this
why not?
reaction to
Why
it,
not me? Why
an
could I not
impact on
go
you.
and do something with it? You know?
Yeah, I remember sitting there editing that film for 4 years and just not knowing what was going to happen at the end of it, and not knowing what people's reaction to the film was going to be. And it was just me doing it on my own and kind of my story. And is anyone actually going to care about this or not? And it's impacted people from all around the world. And it's still, it blows my mind still that it did that.
Absolutely.
It really does. And it's just, I forget sometimes until something reminds me, like you talking about it or somebody bringing it up in conversation. Um, and it's just and the story about how it was made. I've got on my TikTok, I kind of tell the story about how it was made in like this three-part thing. And the story about how it was made is ridiculous as well. It's ridiculous. The whole thing. It's unbelievable. And it's just I don't know. I'm so proud of it. I look at it now and think, oh, if I had the experience that I've got now, if I had all the kit that I've got now, that what would it be compared to what it is? But I stop myself thinking that way because it is what it is and it's of its time, and that's how it should be. And the plan has always been to do a sequel and go back and revisit it now. Um, well, what are we on now? 2026, 15 years later, is to go back and revisit it and see exactly because a lot's changed over there. And they're doing some incredible research. There's research that they've just put out now where they've been putting cameras on the bull sharks and they found that those bull sharks there have got social lives. Those
I
bull
was
sharks
just
have got
reading a paper about
friends.
that yesterday. We're going to talk about it on Tuesday, actually.
Yeah, it's Tashi out there. Natasha, she's amazing. She's been the one that's doing all the research, and the plan is, and it's still the plan. It's still the top of my kind of priority thing, to go out and do the sequel and go and revisit it and do. And I'll let you into a little secret that we were that close to doing that for an episode of Shark Week in 2024.
Really?
That close, yeah. We were at the stage whereby the guy who was the commissioning editor at the time was going away to come back and tell it was he was finding out how much money they could give me to do it. And I needed to go and find when we were going to do it, the availability. So when you get to the point where someone, a broadcaster or a network, is saying, "Yeah, we're going to give you the money, we're going to do this. We just need to let you know how much it's going to be. When do you want to go?" That's the last conversation that you have before you get together and you sign contracts and you say, "This is what it is." Then money hits a bank account and then you spend it on making this episode of Shark Week, which for me is like a dream come true. And then Hollywood went on strike
Oh, I remember you mentioning
as
this.
this was
Yeah.
happening. The entire Hollywood shut down, and that obviously included Discovery because Discovery are owned by Disney. And then there would I can't. It would be a great story to tell you of why
Hmm.
it never went ahead, but I don't think I can
That's
because
fine.
I'll
Yeah.
never work for Discovery if I do tell it. But we did revisit doing it, but the reasons that they had for not doing it are absolutely insane,
Hmm.
ridiculous, utterly ridiculous.
I'm sorry to hear
Um,
that.
I I can't really go into what those reasons were, but we were that close to basically repurposing of Shark and Man, making essentially a modern version of it, but referencing the film at the same time, covering all this research and having it be one of the main episodes on that year of Shark Week.
I think
It was
if
that
that sounds
close.
awesome, if for no other reason, just to see how the reefs have changed since they started
Yeah.
opening up that ecotourism there. For anybody who might be wondering the context on this, um, that part of Fiji was very much desolate for a while. The reefs there were decimated by overfishing, and so this. You actually may be able to. You probably can tell this story way better than I can if you want to. But how they started doing the ecotourism dives, and the government said, "Why not?"
That's kind of it. It was wiped out. It was completely dead. And then when they started trying to bring the sharks in to start a shark dive, when the sharks came in, it brought other fish species in with it. And essentially, what happened was because they were feeding the sharks and the other fish were coming in as a byproduct of that, then those fish would then hang around a little bit more. They'd eat and then they'd poo and they'd poo onto the reef. And what that poo did was it then
Fed the
created
coral
coral.
polyps, the coralline
So the
algae, all
coral
that
all
stuff.
started building up again.
Yeah.
And then there's more coral, so then more life comes in, and it went from being completely dead to I think now there's I think 600 species of fish there.
Wow.
Soft coral everywhere, hard coral, sharks. It's the biggest bull sharks in the world. They're absolutely everywhere. There's 8 different species of sharks. It is the greatest shark dive on the planet. And the project that runs it, the main dive operation out there, Benga Adventure Divers, it's essentially the money that comes in goes straight back to the community, to the islanders, the villagers that own the reef. So it's just this, and because of that, they're also doing the research as well. It is this central hub of it's the greatest shark conservation story ever told. It's the biggest shark conservation success I can think of,
I mean, it
and it's
sounds like it's the
localized
exact
in this one
opposite.
small area of Fiji.
It sounds like it's the exact opposite of a trophic cascade, whatever. I'm sure there's a term for that.
I'm not sure what that term would be, but it's just it's incredible. It is what they've done is unbelievable. And essentially, it was one guy who led that, who had this idea, this dream, and his backstory. Mike, he's featured heavily in the film. There's plenty of his backstory that wasn't in the film that I don't think he'd want telling. But as someone, his life it's incredible. And this guy, he's like, I mean, I'm 6'3", and he towered over me. He's 6'7", 6'8". He's massive. He's this enormous giant guy who's quite intimidating, who lived this unbelievable life, and then just kind of happened upon Shark Reef in Fiji because he worked for Deutsche Bank and made a shitload of money and retired in his mid 40s and bought a boat and just said, I'm going to travel the world. And then he ended up here and decided, oh, I'm going to set up a shark dive. And then just because he's got this business brain and he's incredibly sharp, he's very, very sharp, and just set up this incredible conservation project.
And so this was the
Um,
guy. This was
and
the guy we saw in the trailer with you, right, on the
yeah,
boat. No.
yeah, and he's never
Oh yeah.
ever taken a single penny from that business, and it
Really.
generates. Well, when I was there in 2011, it was generating $1 million Fijian dollars a year, and Fiji's a third world nation, and that's generating $1 million Fijian dollars a year, and he didn't take a single penny from it. It all went back to the staff, to the village, to building this conservation project. It's incredible. It is an unbelievable place, and I will love Mike more than he would ever know for the rest of my life because he changed my life. Jane West at Tourism Fiji, she changed my life. Those two people were so instrumental in me being sat here talking to you now. That and I never ever forget that. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do now. So there's so many layers to that story in that film that um I'm just so fond of it. Like outside of my kid, it's the greatest creation I think I've ever done. I've done things which are technically better, just in terms of the execution, in terms of the technicality, but just in terms of raw storytelling and honesty and impact, I don't know if I'll ever top it. I'm trying to do something which will top it,
Props
but
on remembering
it's
to call out the kid. I'm sure that would have been a fun discussion later. So I
he
actually
loves it
just
now.
double checked it, and yeah, sure enough, the paper that I found that we were going to discuss on Tuesday, Natasha's name is right there up front and center. It is the
He's
same
great.
study. That was let's see, this is published very recently, March 17th this year.
Yeah. And
cutting
they've
edge
been
stuff.
working on that for about the last 2 years, I think.
Hmm.
And her story's dead interesting. She was a lawyer in New York, like kind of a high flying city lawyer, and just nuked her career and just said, I want to go and be a shark researcher. So that's what she did. And then ended up in Fiji, and that's what she does now. And she runs this incredible project out in Fiji. And she's
That's awesome.
such a cool person. She's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I wanted to mention too. You've talked about how when you were making Shark and Man. I already forgot what's the name of your friend that was working the camera.
We had Hamish with us. Hamish
Hamish
was
is the
a
one I'm
big part
thinking
of
of.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain, for anybody who hasn't watched it, there's a certain how did you describe it earlier? Like transparency and like a genuineness of the way
And just
you're talking.
authenticity. Yeah,
Huh?
it's raw.
Yeah, yeah. It's very genuine, like not scripted and raw, like you said. And I think the way you guys achieved that was really interesting. You want to describe that to them about how Hamish would ask you questions?
Yeah, the original thing, I had a script written out before we went out there, and this script was like that thick. And it's basically with documentary, you can't really plan the film out. You
Hmm.
have a framework of a story that you want to tell, and then you allow the story to happen to you while
Maybe
you're
like
out
some
there,
high
and
level
it's going
bullet
to go in
points.
different directions. But I had a framework out there, which was, I think it was probably about 30, 40 pages. And we did that for the first, I think, 3 days. And so delivering pieces to camera. So you're memorizing lines, delivering to camera. And we used to get together and we'd have a meeting when we were having dinner on an evening. And we just like, it's not working. It's not working doing it this way. It feels a bit forced. So we just decided that everything that we did was going to be unscripted. So that every single day we'd have an interview kind of part of the process. So we do the dives in the morning, and then in the afternoon we'd film some other stuff, and then before the light went down, we do the interviews. And the rule that we had was Hamish would go away for 40 to 45 minutes. He'd write down maybe anywhere between kind of eight to 12 questions. And it was essentially, what have you done today? How did it make you feel? How does it impact where you are with the story? It
Hmm.
was based on those three things, and we said that we were going to film it and we were going to do one take of every answer, and that was it. And then anything that we filmed that was a reaction to something, so maybe coming up from a dive, for example, there was no second or third takes. It was one take. Everything had to be done one take. And there's a bit in the film where I kind of come up and I take my reg out and I try to go and kind of spit something out to clear it, and it's just spit going
All over.
everywhere, and it's like not in a normal TV production. You'd say, right, do that again, but it was no one take. It's
I
got
mean,
to
anybody
be
that's scuba dove before though is going to be like, yeah, whatever. Spit and snot's
not
part of
spit.
diving, you
Yeah,
know? That's.
but the whole point of it was be honest, do it in one take. Just how do you? And there was so much of it was how do you feel? How is this experience making you feel?
Hmm.
Uh, then obviously there's a lot of factual stuff in there as well. So when I'm giving that, when I'm delivering that kind of stuff to the camera, you're not thinking of like a normal TV show where might have something like say Deadly 60 or Shark Week or something, and they'll have the bullet. These are the facts that we want to say, and how are we going to word this? It's like, no, it's like this is how much do you know? How much do you understand this? Because you've got one chance to articulate it in a way
Yeah.
that people would understand. Um, and that really creates this kind of there's a pressure that goes with it, but you come out. It's impossible because you're not relying on the chance to be able to do it again. You've
You're
only got
thinking this
one
is my
go to
one
do it.
shot, so I got to go. I got to nail this
Yeah.
time.
So
Yeah.
when I was cutting it, when I was editing, you're editing things that like when you're taking time to stop and think, because that's a natural, normal thing. But you want it to flow a little bit. But when people are watching me delivering a piece to camera or Mike doing it or anything like that, literally it's all one take. Everything was all one take, and it just has this real raw, authentic um way to it. And everybody's got kind of speech. I've just done one there, speech patterns. Mine is kind of or like, and I need to get out of the habit of doing that. But
I'm a liker. Yeah.
yeah, like is a big thing. Like is a really big thing now. It's like where people use swear words a lot, and what they're doing is it's a break in the
I used to be
sentence
one of those
so
too.
they
It
can
was
think.
hard to break that.
Yeah, it's psychological. It's a break in the sentence to give you that split second to think about what you're going to say. And it's actually incredibly difficult to cut those out of the way that you speak. So when you have a camera in front of you and that red light goes on and you have to deliver, it's a really great way to learn how to actually be on camera and how to articulate how you feel.
Yeah, no, I really think it's brilliant that you would have him prompt you like that, because I mean, having this idea of I need to say XYZ in this take, is inevitably going to come out feeling forced,
Yeah.
scripted, whatever word you want to use to describe it. But and like anybody who's been scuba diving and come up from a dive, that like feelings are high. That's a good time to strike when the iron's hot. Like we did that trip to Bimini again this past November with Paul DeGelder, and I recorded a short 20-minute interview with him, and he's like, "Let's do it right after tomorrow's dive." I was like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." And you get that very genuine emotion of what the experience was. So I think that was really clever of you guys to do that.
Yeah, I like Paul. I think I mean, he's an Aussie bloke. There is no more genuine creature on earth than the Aussie bloke. They're brilliant. Um, but that kind of approach is the way to do it, I think. I mean, what people might not realize is that when they're watching Shark Week and they've got the comms and they're talking to each other underwater, they're not talking to each other underwater. They're doing that in a studio in Hollywood,
Yeah, yeah.
probably 6-7 weeks after they've actually done the dive.
That's one of our
Um,
rules for the Shark Week drinking game is drink anytime somebody talks underwater with only a regular regulator in their mouth.
yeah, yeah. Drink at the point of time when the equipment fails or we've lost comms, and you lose comms all the time. We do jobs where we use comms, and they're terrible.
Yeah,
You
the audio
can't
quality
get
on
a
the
good
recording
recording.
afterwards is
That's why they
awful,
do it.
right?
Sorry.
And the audio quality if after the fact on the recordings would be terrible, right?
Oh yeah, it's a real struggle to understand what someone's saying to you. So the general rule when you're using comms is only speak when you need to speak, because nobody can really understand. And if you're anywhere where there's metal, for example, you can pretty much forget getting any kind of signal.
Really?
So that there is a practical reason why they do the ADR in the studio in the studio afterwards, but I still think now that the best dive sequence ever created, ever on film, is Blue Water White Death with the oceanic white tips.
And you said that last time you were here too,
Yeah,
and I still haven't seen it. I didn't
you
go
have
watch
to.
it yet.
I don't think that will ever be beaten. I tried. Well, no, I didn't try to beat it. But when we did the final dive sequencing of
That's
Shark and
where you
Man,
set the
and
bar, maybe. That's
yeah,
right.
this is the thing to remember as well. When you have a dive sequence in a documentary, the dive sequence is usually maybe a minute to a minute and a half long. Broadcasters like to minimize those things as much as possible because they want people on a boat talking about what they've been doing, things like that. They want that human interaction. The dive sequence in Blue Water White Death, I think it's about 6 minutes, 6-7 minutes. The final dive sequence in of Shark and Man, if I remember right, is 9.5. And it was we said that's going to be a long. We're not going to cut. We're not going to break to the surface. We're going to take people underwater and let them try and get them to feel what this is like. So it's not kind of fake communicating with each other. It's the dive with sound design and with music in there, but with a voiceover that's not about this shark's doing this and that shark's doing this. It's this is what it's like being down here while this is happening. And it was that the a direct influence was Blue Water White Death, and it's a phenomenal dive sequence. And I think, should I say? No, I would put the last dive sequence of Shark Man as the second best dive sequence in a shark documentary that there's ever been.
You can say
I'm
that.
going to
That's
say
okay.
it. I believe that. I do genuinely believe that. Whether other people do, that's fine if they don't. But Blue Water White Death is still the best. It's an unbelievable piece of cinema. It's incredible.
All right. Well,
And
after a review like that, I have to do this. Hey Google, set a reminder for Sunday at noon.
I can only share.
Oh, screw her. I don't know who you are, so I can't do that.
it's mood. It's got a mood and a vibe to it. It's so brilliant. It is so brilliant.
Hey
And
Google,
that's the best shark
set a reminder
documentary
for
ever
10
made.
a.m. 10 a.m. on Sunday.
Okay, on Sunday at 10 a.m. What's the title?
Watch Blue Water White Death.
Sure, I'll remind you on Sunday at 10
All right,
a.m.
it's set in stone now.
It's an incredible documentary, Blue Water White Death. And if you suspend disbelief in the sense that the climax of it, you do sort of think, well, why don't you just do that at the beginning? But forget that. Do the journey. It's just so beautifully made, and it's the biggest influence on not just of Shark and Man, but how I do things. Because the people in that are the best to ever do it. You look at Shark Week, and there's some super talented people, but Blue Water White, the Ron and Valerie are the best to ever do it, bar none. You've got
Valerie Taylor?
sorry,
Is it Valerie Taylor? I think it
yeah,
is.
but
Yeah.
Ron and Valerie Taylor, they will they're the pinnacle. They will never ever be surpassed. They are the best to ever do it, and they always will be. And then you've got Marty Snyderman, you've got Peter Gimbel, and it's just so beautifully made. It's incredible. It's such an incredible piece of cinema.
I've got to check that out. We have there was a couple of things mentioned here in the chats. So is Fiji a French territory? Moxie asked, was it easy working with the French government when doing the dives in Fiji?
Fiji was a British territory.
Ah,
Fiji now is an independent nation. Fiji essentially is a what's the word? It's a benevolent dictatorship. So the government in Fiji, there's no real democracy. There was a coup. I think when did I go? 2011. I think the coup was maybe 2007, 2008, when the military decided, no, we're taking over, and they went and took over the government. And so it is a dictatorship in Fiji, but it's a benevolent dictatorship in the sense that it's not violent, it doesn't oppress the people, but there's no real democracy there. But it was a British territory. So it was essentially the missionaries went there only what 110 120 years ago. It's not that long ago that they were still eating each other in
whoa.
Fiji. It's very very young as a nation in terms of where we are now. But yeah, it was a British territory. French territory, you might be thinking about Reunion is a French territory. Then obviously you have French Polynesia.
Yeah,
Tahiti is a French territory.
I've been there.
I'd love to go to Tahiti.
Oh, it's amazing. We got to stay in, so we wanted to go to Bora Bora. It was our honeymoon, so we're like, when are we ever going to do this again, right? So,
Yeah.
but it's so expensive, so we stayed like 2 nights on one of the overwater bungalows, and then another 2 nights in cheaper overwater bungalows in Rangiroa to see the wall of sharks at
Oh,
Taputa
I'd love
Pass.
to go to Rangiroa.
You gotta go. If nothing
Did you do the
else,
dive there?
yes. So we dove the pass twice, I think, and we went to a place that I'll tell you the name of it off stream, but there, just so you know, there is a place there that is a blacktip reef shark nursery. And so we were
Oh,
walking around in knee to waist deep water, just surrounded by baby blacktip reef sharks.
I love them. I absolutely love black tip reef sharks.
It was really cool. And then we had the last night in like an Airbnb in Tahiti because you had to fly home from Tahiti. So we got to stay at, it was just like a house with a few spare rooms in the bottom, and it's overlooking like the cliffside on the east side of the island. It was just that's an amazing place. I would absolutely go back.
It really does look like paradise. Just
It is.
total paradise.
The airport's nothing. It's like it's small and like partially outdoors. Well, the most like rinky dink airport I've ever been to is actually the one in Bonaire. It is outside,
Yeah.
but the one in Tahiti was, you're like, oh, okay, this is like this big fancy place, and there's the airport. It's just like this little strip mall right there.
I like those little airports though, because you can get away with overweight luggage so much
Mm.
easier.
And you've got all that camera gear, yeah.
But yeah, that's an issue for me all the time. But there's
So Yuri
a
Wan
question
said,
here. Like, did you find that it changed how you approach the dives and interactions at all now when you had one go? That's a really good question. Um, yeah, it
hmm,
kind of did in the sense that your the diving that I do, and this is how I kind of explain my job to people. That as a commercial professional diver, the one biggest difference between us and recreational divers is that as a recreational diver, you're diving for enjoyment. So you go on, you might do like a 2 week holiday, a diving holiday, or a week long liverboard, and you go in and it's recreational, and you'll take a GoPro or your Insta 360, and the idea is that you hope you get some nice footage from it, that you've got a memory of your trip. Whereas what we do, the dive for us is the commute to work. That's what the dive is. So your job is to film sharks. How do you film sharks? You've got to get in the water with sharks. So we treat it as like the commute to work. I just happen to really enjoy the commute to work. So you look at it, diving as a cinematographer is different to just diving because you're going down with a purpose. So we would do the dives and then, okay, today I need to get or try and get this specific kind of footage that we're missing of sharks doing X or Y. And then you do that dive and you get that footage, and then you know that as you're surfacing, you're doing your safety stop. You know that when your head pops above the surface, there's literally going to be a camera pointing at you, and you have to, boom, you have to deliver something.
make sure there's no
And
boogers or something.
yeah, exactly. And you know, okay, if it's there, then it's there. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But you do kind of sort of think about uh, what you might say, but instead of thinking about how this is how I'm going to word it, you're thinking about you take that 3 minutes of your safety stop to think what just happened and how's that affected me? How do I feel about that? And the idea is you want to get up and just have how you feel inside explode out of you so that people watching from a 2D flat screen can get an idea of what it was like.
yeah. You really
So
have to wear your
it,
emotions on your sleeve, right?
yeah, it adds a certain amount of pressure because people don't often like to wear their emotions on the sleeve because it's vulnerable. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a level of vulnerability about it. Um, you're essentially saying you're breaking down this barrier and saying this is how I feel about this thing that I've just done, and you know that there's going to be people out there that are like, oh, well, why do you feel that, or they could potentially maybe poke fun at you for something. You have to forget all of that and just be and almost think there's people out there that might be interested in what I've got to say. I'm talking to them. I don't care about anybody else. I'm talking to you at the other end of the screen that is interested or maybe cares about what I think. And that's what I care about is reaching you. And there'll be other people maybe that you reach along the way. But if you bought in and you're coming along in this journey and you believe in this, it's me and you, it's just the two of us, and I'm just talking to you. And that's the kind of the approach that I have with it, or try and have with it anyway.
So we have a question from the chat, but also just before we dive into that, well, speaking of diving, so you mentioned commercially diving versus recreational diving. I'm just curious, what, how far have you gone with certifications for diving?
So I'm commercially qualified. So essentially, what you have the recreational pathway where you end up as instructor or then instructor trainer or then course director, where you can go up to that, where basically you're developing the courses for recreational divers, use subjects, students. Whereas commercial diving is we don't teach people. What we do is we go and do, we get paid to dive. Essentially, that's what we do. So it could be you could be a welder, an underwater welder. You could be doing pipe work. You could be cleaning the hulls of boats, or like for me, for example, you work in film and TV and video. So you're an underwater camera operator. So commercial diver, essentially, it takes you to the upper end of the training side of things, whereby the idea is, because I work as a contractor as well. So what that means is that a TV production company TV production company might come to me and say, we're doing a documentary about sea lions in La Paz, and we'd like you to go and film it. So, of course, I'd go and film it, but my other job as well is, as a contractor, is I have to put the dive team together. So I have to establish how many people do we need in the water. We need to have a supervisor. I need to do risk assessments. I need to have all the paperwork done and everything. So
And send them a
essentially,
budget for all
everybody's
that.
safety, everybody's safety is my responsibility. So if anything goes wrong, and it's not in the risk assessment, it's not been accounted for, you've not done what you need, I end up in court or go to jail. And then that's kind of, so there's an enormous amount of pressure that goes with that.
So
So
a
you're
lot
essentially,
similar to how, like, with recreational divers, the instructor is liable for the students on the dives.
yeah, and even in that regard, so the instructor could be liable, but then the instructor then is part of the dive school. So the dive school is probably more liable than the instructor.
Yeah.
And then what's generally going to happen is there's going to be a fine or potentially maybe a prison sentence if they've been really, really what's the word? They've not paid enough attention to it already. They've been really bad, and that, like the case of the girl that got crushed by the dry suit a couple of years ago. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I hadn't. That's
Uh,
horrific.
yeah, yeah, that's a really bad story. There's a documentary coming out about that soon, actually.
Okay.
So I'll work with commercial divers, and then I say to the production company, if I'm contracting the job, you essentially hand everything over to me, and I take full responsibility for what happens whilst working in or around a marine environment. So you look at diving in a very different way. You're constantly thinking, what's going to go wrong, and how do we stop that going wrong? So it's nice to recreationally dive. It's really nice because you're like, "Oh, I don't have to think about that. I'm not responsible for anybody." But at the same time, if you're on a boat and you are with recreational divers, you can't ever switch off. You kind of do
Yeah.
have a little bit of a responsibility, whereby if you see something that isn't quite being done right, you probably should step in and make sure it's done right because of safety. You don't want anybody to have a bad experience.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a couple of questions, but real quick, I want to take a quick restroom break and run one of those ads to get rid of the pre-rolls for folks. So I'm going to switch to our BRB screen and run to the bathroom, and I'll be right back. Or actually, I can leave it on the screen if you want. Are you going to do the same? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. We'll be right back, y'all. All right, and I forgot to hit the button, so we will be behind ads for the next 30 seconds. Super.
Happily answer absolutely anything at
Yeah,
all.
I forgot to mention that, y'all. If you do have questions, well, we absolutely encourage that sort of thing. Well, I might not be quite as diligent about being able to keep up with it as when it's just me. Um, but for starters, let's see. Uh, Moxie is actually an archaeologist, and they had a question. Have you ever done any underwater archaeology projects?
I haven't actually, but I would be quite interested to do that with kind of the Rex side of things. I enjoy wreck diving. I'm not a huge wreck diver, but I do enjoy it. So it's always, I like variety. For me, I would be perfectly happy if my entire life was just filming sharks. I'd be
Mm-hmm.
perfectly, unbelievably happy with that. But what is great about my job is that there does come some variety with it. So, for example, things like feature films, where you have a scripted scene and it's storyboarded and shooting those kind of things. I really enjoy them as well. But I would absolutely do archaeology projects, but I've not done any yet. But I would do for sure.
So for those type of scripted uh, projects for films, is it basically just like they say, okay, we need XYZ shot of a shark doing something, or like,
Well, it could be generally with features or shorts. It's less wildlife and more people.
okay.
So you're filming people doing things, and a lot of the time it's with actors or actresses that they're not divers. Most of the time, they're people who maybe they're not even that comfortable in the water. They'll say they are because they want the role. But you that then so for example, I did a job back end of 2024. We've got a really big soap opera over here called Emmerdale. It's a huge, huge big show. And they had this massive big set piece where they had a limo that crashed into a frozen lake. And then one of the main characters of the show fell through the ice and drowned. And we did that shoot over the course of a week. It was actually me that drowned it. So I wasn't shooting it. I was the principal safety on that. So when you see the shots in Emmerdale of Amy, the character drowning, and she's struggling, what you don't see under the screen is me holding her down by her ankles. And a lot of that job was making sure she's safe, getting her up to the surface in time, but spending time with her and just making her feel comfortable, just that like you're gonna be okay. It's fine. I'm here. I'm gonna look after you. There's nothing that's gonna happen to you. And there were shots where she'd have to breathe off my octopus, and I'd have to take her down and hold her underwater, breathing off her octopus. And she'd only learned to do it an hour before. But I've got to think of ways to make her feel comfortable and make her feel okay so that she can perform the scene, because that's her job, is to perform the scene that's in it. And it's just things like I'd take her down and I'd hold her down. And instead of just holding on to her, I was holding her shoulders and kind of like just almost massaging her, like kind of holding her, like stroking her arms, like just letting her know
Everything's
I'm
good.
there,
Yeah.
you're okay. Let's try and calm you down. It's going to be all right. And then when the scene was done, and we had it's like a speaker system whereby the director could communicate from the surface underwater. When they yelled cut, I'd then take her and just bring her up to the surface. And we did that over the course of we had one shoot day. The rest of it was building the set. And those kind of jobs are brilliant. They're so much fun. And then you get to kind of sit down and watch it on TV. And then you get, because it's such a big show, there's news articles about it. And they're interviewed on television about this huge thing that's just happened. And then they're mentioning, oh, we did the underwater shoot. What was that like? Was it really scary? No, we had these great guys that were looking after us. And
Nice.
it's brilliant. It's great. It's such a good job.
So, when it airs, is that the first time that you're seeing all the footage that
Yes.
you didn't work on?
Yes, that
Okay.
stuff. Yeah. So when you're working on things like that, because my projects, I cut them and I edit them and I deal with that kind of thing. If I'm not editing it, I'm usually doing the color on it. So I'll always see it and I'll be the last to actually put it out there. Whereas it's something that's really big like that, we do the shoot and then it goes away and then we get told when it's airing. and then we sit down and watch it the same as everybody else. So we don't know what shots they're going to put in it. We don't know what order they're going to put it in. We don't know how it's going to look. So then it's really exciting to watch it. It's great.
And I didn't miss your question, Tactical Grace. Actually, I wanted to make sure we asked this next. They said, how do you end up at the spots with all the sharks? Do you follow them around? Are there curious sharks who come to see humans, or do you ever bribe them with food? How do you find the sharks when you're going to film them?
We'll go to places where quite reliable for sharks to be there. If we can do it without any kind of baiting, we will do. But sometimes we have to bait sharks. Sometimes we have to have some kind of encouragement for the sharks to come in, because if
Right, like
people
at least
haven't,
scenting something.
yeah. So what a lot of people don't realize is that it's actually really difficult to find sharks. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be, but it is. And then if you do find them, it's even more difficult to actually get them to come close. Nobody wants to see footage of a tiny little shark on a screen that's 20, 30 meters away. They want to see a shark up close.
Yeah.
So you have to try and encourage them to come close to you, and that can change. How you do that can change with different kinds of species. So, for example, oceanic white tips are a great example. What they do, and I've seen them do this a million times. Well, not a million times, but if there's a group of divers, oceanic white tips will get in. They'll isolate a diver and separate them from the group. They're incredibly
I
intelligent
remember you
and
telling me
very,
this
very
story. It gives me
sneaky.
nightmares.
Yeah, it is real nightmare fuel. But they will separate from the group and push you out into open water, because that's where they want you. They want you vulnerable, and you can see them doing it. So if I'm working with Oceanics, for example, we'll have normally a team. It'll be me, and then probably two other people in the water. So what I will generally tend to do is, if we go to a place like Elphinstone in the Red Sea, we know there's a good chance we'll see them at a certain time of year. Then if one turns up, it's like, okay, you two are over there. I'm going to purposefully separate myself. I'm going to make myself as vulnerable as possible, so that shark sees the vulnerability and then comes in close. So then I get the shots, and then it's just a case of dealing with that shark while it's on top of me, basically.
Right, and what
Which
really
is not
stuck
something I
with me.
recommend people do.
Yeah. No,
But you
yeah,
have to
please don't do
have
that, folks.
yeah, you have to have a really good understanding of shark behavior, because all sharks behave differently. Like tigers will behave differently to oceanic white tips, it will behave differently to bull sharks, it will behave differently to hammerheads or blues. They all have different ways of behaving. So you essentially you put yourself in a position whereby you let them feel confident to come towards you.
Right, and on that note, you mentioned the last time we talked about this, something that I thought was really noteworthy and remarkable about the oceanic white tips, and that was that they used the sun to their
Yeah.
advantage.
It's incredible. So you have in World War II, Japanese kamikaze pilots. What they would do when they were moving towards American warships is they would go in formation, and what they would do is, obviously, as we know, in kamikaze, they've got the guns. They'd go in with the guns, to fire the guns until they've run out of ammunition. When they've run out of ammunition, they're like, okay, what's the last thing we can do? We can crash the plane into the ship. But what they would do to avoid the anti-aircraft guns at that point would be that they would they'd find where the sun is and then approach out of the sun. Because if you look directly at the sun, you're blinded by how bright it is, so you can't see any kind of contrast in there until it's too late. So that's
Right.
what the kamikaze pilots would do, and oceanic white tips do exactly the same. So they circle in a wide circle, then they disappear. Then they come back, and that circle's a bit tighter. Then they keep doing that until that circle gets really tight, and then they disappear. Then all of a sudden, you don't know where they are, and then you turn around, and all of a sudden, they're
It's
just on
right
top of
there.
you. And they know where the sun is, and they know that you can't see them if they're backlit by the sun until the last minute. It's incredible. I've seen it happen dozens and dozens of times. I've got so much footage out of doing that. And that's one thing, if you want to film, I mean, most of the people who are your viewers are probably going to be, if they're going to be in the water with Oceanics, it's going to be part of a dive trip where it'll be quite strict that everybody's sticking together, buddy pairs, things like that. But in the event anyone that's watching wants to do, how do I put it? I don't want to say a proper shark dive, but when they want to, say if they go out diving on their own, they're thinking, I want to go out and get footage or photographs of an oceanic white tip. I know where they're going to be. And then if one turns up, always keep an eye on where the sun is, because they're going to come out of the
Yeah.
sun at some point. And it's, people think sharks are just these eating machines, that they don't have any other thought process, but they've not survived for as long as they have without knowing how to do what they do really, really well. And oceanics are up there among some of the most intelligent sharks I've ever come across. They're incredible at what they do.
Yeah, people have this. We have this misconception that's lasted for a remarkably long time that they just operate off instinct. You know, that they're simple-minded, like like the same idea we have of bony fish. You know, that like if they experience pain, it's just like a robotic response. That
Yeah.
they're not thinking, feeling creatures. And I don't know. I just, the more time I spend with them in the water, the less believable that feels. You know. Especially when you
It's,
hear stories like this about them being as clever as using the sun to their advantage in hunting. That's wild.
and they know, if you're in a group of divers, they know who's the most vulnerable one. They know.
Just who's the least
It's
confident.
unbelievable. It's incredible how they do it. I had the TikTok video where I did a little series about shark attacks, in terms of why the shark attack happened and what could have been done differently to minimize the risk of that. And one of them did really, really well, and it was an attack at the Brothers from, I want to say, 2018. The Brothers is a dive site in the Red Sea. Um, and this shark came in and it was really chilled out to begin with.
Oh, is this that one
And
where
just,
the shark came from below and bit the guy on the leg?
it's the one where it gets the guy in the leg, yeah. Because when
Yeah.
that shark comes in, it comes in just investigating, seeing what's going about, seeing what's happening. And at some point, that shark decided there's an opportunity here for me, and this guy is the
He
opportunity.
looked
So let's go
nervous,
see what this
honestly.
guy's made of. Let's go see if he behaves how I think he's going to behave.
Mm-hmm.
And this shark chases this guy around, and the guy reacts in the worst imaginable way, which is not a criticism of him, because if you put 99% of people in that situation getting chased
They're
around by
gonna
an
freak
oceanic
out.
black
Yeah.
fish, they're going to do the same. But he panicked so much that this shark, when it came around for the final pass, saw another diver that was so oblivious to what was going on that it thought, okay, this guy I've been chasing around, and I've done it twice, and I've chased him around. He's been a bit hard work, but him up there is
He'll
not
never
paying
see
any
it coming.
attention to what's going on. And
Yeah.
I've decided someone's getting bitten today, and it's it. And you can almost see it on the video, the thought process, that when you understand how sharks behave, you can see that shark just decide someone's getting it today. And he's too much hard work, but he's an easy target. And the guy literally just dangles his leg out. He's asking for it, and the shark just obliges.
I
Um,
would love to pull it up right now. I know it's on YouTube and show it, but I'm pretty sure that would be against the Twitch terms of service. We could get
it's
banned for
still on
that one.
my TikTok. So I put that on my TikTok, and it got 116,000 views
Whoa.
in 24 hours. And then TikTok saw it, decided it didn't like it, and just suppressed it down. So took it off the FYP. But if you go onto my TikTok, it is on there. And I give a full kind of breakdown on that. And I give a breakdown on a couple of other incidents as well. I want to keep doing those. But I just
I
don't
try to
think TikTok's
hazard
going to
my
push
way
me to
through
the FYP.
those on the stream some, but you know, within reason. Like I'm no expert. I don't want to imply that I know everything about it, but there's certainly, in most cases, there's, you can at least identify a way that the situation could have been avoided or better mitigated.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah. There's
it
always a
doesn't take an
point when
expert to
that
identify
shark
those.
decides, that shark goes from, "Oh, I'm just having a look," to, "I'm going to bite." Because when that shark makes that decision, "I'm going to bite," it's going to bite. Someone's getting bitten. You can almost see the change in them. They make the decision, and they're quite calculated as well. It's not necessarily an instantaneous thing. Sometimes it can be where the opportunity presents itself, but there's usually a point where it switches from, I'm just figuring out what's going on here to I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this to somebody, and it's going to be whoever's going to present me with the least risk of personal damage. So any kind of attack that you read about that happens. So there's famous examples like the Simon Nellis attack, for example.
Yeah.
That shark will have followed him around for a little while, would have kept an eye on him, and would have decided, yeah, this is worth it. This is worth the effort.
I do
And
wonder how
then,
long it would have stalked him before making that decision to investigate
yeah, the thought process, it didn't just swim by him and think, oh,
and go,
there we
look, a
go, it's an
human.
opportunity. It
Yeah.
was measured. It thought about it beforehand. So the whole mistaken identity thing is a myth, really. I think it's happened. It has happened. And the mistaken identity really only applies to great whites as well. People apply that to all shark species. Like people apply the whole surfer looks like a seal.
Yeah.
How many shark species eat seals?
2.
White sharks,
Or, well, maybe
Greenland
7
sharks,
gills.
makos.
Right.
There's 3 species really that eat seals, but they apply it to every shark species, and it's not. It's mainly great whites. So that shark at some point has made a conscious decision based on opportunity and availability of prey. So it knows what it's doing. It's kind of, it means to do it, and so there's different kinds of shark attacks. So like the single bite, which again is a white shark thing. It doesn't apply to tigers and it doesn't apply to bulls.
Right.
It's a white shark thing. So the single bite, where it's maybe not quite so sure, it just wants to check out what's going on. So it's investigatory. Or it can be a more violent bite where it's right, I'm going to incapacitate this. And then if I decide I don't want to eat it, what have I got to lose? Which is a terrible thing for whoever gets bitten. Because if it's particularly violent, if it means to kill you, it will kill you.
Right.
It just might not eat you.
There's a kind of a anecdote I use to describe that. Like, you talk about shark bites, and the majority of them are very superficial, relatively, right? But when we're talking about a superficial bite from a white shark, that you could be degloved, you could lose a limb, So to kind of try to take a scary situation, make it a little more lighthearted, I say white sharks are a little bit like Lenny from Mice and Men. It's just, I want to see what this is. I want to pet the rabbit, George. Oh my God, I bit its leg off. When you have a mouthful
they
of
remind
knives.
me of my son. My son is a really fussy eater. So I was in a restaurant with Lucas at the weekend, and I was all right, try some calamari. And the way he tries calamari or anything he's not sure about is it's a tiny, tiny little nibble. Then he might go, I like that actually, and then he'll devour it, or it'll be, don't like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how sharks behave. And the thing with when you look at Australia, this is a great example. I think Australia has the highest amount of shark fatalities on the planet. Well, you've got Reunion as well, Reunion, and it was Recife before as well. But if we use Australia as an example, when it's white sharks, Australia has an inordinate number of victims who are fully consumed by white sharks. So people say, well, why is that? And to me, it's quite obvious that you have South Africa enacted protection of great white sharks in the 90s. And that, yes, it's led to increased numbers of white sharks, which is great. But that's not the reason why there's more fatalities or more full kind of ingestions. It's that because those sharks aren't being hunted anymore, they're allowed to get bigger. And bigger white sharks eat bigger prey. So a bigger white shark is more inclined to consume a human. Because a human for a shark is still a big item of prey. Even for a big shark, we are, if you look at the average, and statistically, as a man is more likely to be attacked by sharks. Why is that? Because men are more likely to take risks, so they go further out. They're more likely to swim away from the group, so they're going to be more vulnerable. But your average man is going to be what? Between 5'10" to 6 foot tall. That's still a decent sized animal, for want of a better phrase. So it has to be a big shark that can take down a 6 foot man. So in Australia, you've got this incredibly successful protection of white sharks, which has just allowed for more larger adult white sharks who are more likely to consume a human being. So
That's a
it's
wild thought.
relatively straightforward.
So we had a question from Van B. Can. They say, is it actually possible to take a breath out of a tire underwater like in the movies? I don't know that I've
Take a
ever seen a
breath
movie where
out of
anyone
its
did
height.
that, but I mean, technically, yeah, you could. Oh, also earlier for the non-divers here, he said something about letting the actress breathe from his octopus. For anybody who doesn't dive, an octopus is a spare regulator you keep on yourself to buddy breathe with people who need it.
Sorry, yeah, I should have qualified that there.
I meant to interject with that, but yeah, I forgot.
So take a breath from a tire. Theoretically, yes, because it's a pocket of air.
Yeah,
So if you have, as a diver, if you have something called a free flow, which is where your regulator just basically just pisses air out of it and it won't stop. And you get that when you get cold weather and maybe the first stage freezes and something fails in the regulator. So instead of you only getting air when you breathe in, it's just constantly giving you a constant source of air. The way you deal with that is you sip the air. So you actually have the regulator out of your mouth and you sip it like that. And because it's a pocket of air, you're
right.
not bringing in water, you're bringing in air. So I guess theoretically, yes, you could take air from a tire. I wouldn't recommend it.
Imagine trying to manage
But
your buoyancy with that.
yeah, I don't think it would be great. I don't think it would be ideal. But theoretically, yeah, you could do, I guess.
I can't think of a reason why you couldn't. Yeah. Tactical Grace asked the question: are there periods of the year when sharks are more likely to be hungry and more likely to attack a human? So, actually, first off, I think I can get out ahead of this one a little bit. That they're not so much likely to base their behavior and responses off of what we think of as traditionally hungry, so to speak, because they have really slow digestion and they store fat in their livers. That's a big way that they retain energy. Um, and that's going to vary a lot species to species as well, right? Like, as you've got your pelagic
Yeah.
sharks, which are going to run into food sources less often, they may be a lot more opportunistic. You've got sharks that migrate, sharks that have sight fidelity that don't migrate, like blacktip reef sharks staying on a reef all the time. What's your take on that?
Yeah, there's definitely times of year when sharks are going to be more likely to be, let's say, aggressive. And it's going to be based around when sharks are mating or giving birth, because particularly female sharks, because when female sharks, when they're in gestation, they often won't eat, or when they're mating, they won't eat. So they'll go
Right.
long periods of time without eating. And I'll give a good example. There was an example of a shark attack in Australia, and I think it was around somewhere in New South Wales, and it was a 14-year-old boy called Raymond Short. I think his name is Raymond Short. This would have been late 50s, early 60s, and he was attacked in fairly shallow water by a juvenile white shark, and this shark did not let him go. So he was attacked in shallow water. The shark was relatively small. I think it was about 8 foot, and it grabbed hold of his leg, and people went in to try and rescue him, and they dragged him to shore, and the shark, and people were punching it, and it didn't let go. They literally dragged Raymond up onto the beach with this shark attached to
Attached.
his leg, and he had to
Wow.
kill the shark on the beach to get its jaws open to get Raymond's leg
What's
out of the
surprising
shark's
to me
mouth.
is that he didn't lose the leg, that he didn't pull it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the only reason that he didn't was this shark was clamped on, and I think sharks learn as they get older. And obviously, with a white shark, as we know, with a lot of shark species, when they bite and then they shake their
The
heads,
thrash,
but
yeah.
sharks still have to learn how to do that.
Ah,
So, white sharks, when they're juveniles, they'll often hunt stingrays, they'll hunt tuna, they'll hunt smaller fish,
yeah.
which they can kind of eat and essentially swallow in one go. It's when they're attacking larger prey like seals or sea lions, when they're removing a piece of flesh. So this shark was a juvenile, and it was when I remember reading the description of the shark was it was malnourished. It was this skinny. It was just it looked malnourished. That's
So
how they
it's very much
described
in
it. So
that phase of like learning how to hunt larger prey and having to just trial
exactly.
and
So this
error
shark's
things.
learning, and maybe it's found itself in a location where, for some reason, maybe to do with human impact or environmental impact, that the kind of animals it would eat normally aren't necessarily there in the abundance that it would need. It's been swimming around. It's seen this kid and just thought, "I got to eat something." It should grabbed hold and just not let go. And he did keep his leg in the end, but they pulled the shark up onto the beach and then ended up killing the shark. So I know that one of the sharks in the attacks in Egypt in 2010 was particularly malnourished as well. So I think there's times of the year when sharks will eat less because more than likely to do with mating or gestation. So that when they come out of that gestation, they are ravenous. They need to eat. They need to eat something. So yes, you could say that for sure. If you see a big, fat, pregnant shark, it's a lot less likely to
Right,
be of
because
any
they,
kind of harm
as
to
I've
you.
heard it put, they kind of turn off the feeding response when they're just
Yeah,
about to give birth.
it's
Another
when
thing
they've just
too,
given birth. That's when they're
that's when you
particularly
should be. Yeah,
dangerous. Yeah.
yeah. Another thing that I've learned from being here is just here in Florida, meaning is that you can kind of play the odds too, just by being aware of migrations. Like
Yeah.
here, like I was saying before, we're in the middle of the blacktip shark migration. So you have blacktip sharks and then spinner sharks right behind them, and your hammerheads and white sharks right behind them. So just knowing what time of year they're going to be there and what their behavior is like, where they're going to be, like those sharks are going to be right up on the shoreline and the reef. In May, we've got a big bull shark migration, and it's females coming here to. There's actually to drop off their babies in the estuary. But there's actually a really interesting story about that. I don't know if you heard this, but the population of bull sharks we had used to come here. I think it was like they all moved further north. And what's crazy is like, so this population of bull sharks would always migrate. I want to say from like in the Gulf and in the Caribbean up to the uh, Indian River Lagoon I happen to live on, and
Yeah.
that is where they would have their babies. And now, and then there's a separate population that would do it in the Keys. And so now that ocean temperatures are rising, that population that was here, that was ending their trip here, has moved up and found another place to give birth in the Carolinas that has the temperatures and food sources and shelter for the babies that they look for. And the population that was in the Keys now comes here. So it doesn't seem like we saw a change to the naked eye, to somebody who's out there fishing every day. But they're actually a completely genetically different population of bull sharks that are coming
That's
here.
really interesting.
Yeah, they kind of just played musical chairs, and the two populations moved further north.
That was part of the issue that they had in Recife with all the attacks there, because the attacks in Recife were bull sharks and tiger sharks. And the issue that they had was that Recife, as a beach, was right next to an inlet, mangroves, from where bull sharks would go and give birth to their young. And then, so these female bull sharks, they're going into the mangroves, they're giving birth, they're coming out, they're starving hungry. The way the currents work, they're kind of moving down the coastline, and oh, they're coming to this beach which is full of people, and they're moving along. They're hungry. They're in desperate need of something to eat, and then they come into contact with human beings. So it's I would always say don't swim near river mouths, and that's part of the thing that you have in Florida, like the Ponce Inlet, and that's why that as a location, there's so many bites there, and you have, like you said, Florida's the shark bite capital of the world, but what are most of those shark bites? It's usually black tips and spinners.
Yeah, it's the
They're
smaller sharks
in the
accidentally
shallows.
nipping
They're
the foot of a
chasing the
surfer or
fish.
something.
Yeah, they see a flash, a foot moves or something, and they bite it, and then it's one bite and it's over and done with. But then you do get obviously the bulls there, and you get the tigers coming in as well sometimes. So you have something which is a little bit more catastrophic, but the vast majority of those bites are relatively minor.
Yeah, uh, the big issue here is that you've got the thing to do here in the summer, and tourists will rent boats and do it, and locals will do it. Is they'll go and party on the sandbar, right? You got these sandbars in the middle of the estuary, all along the intracoastal waterway. That there's just loads of little tiny islands, and people will go park their boat there, and put out a grill. And because it's an estuary in Florida, the water is super murky for a lot of it, not all of it. If you catch it on a good day at high tide, it'll be crystal clear. But they're out there, that's peak season in May, and it just so happens to coincide with that bull shark migration. Now there is less of a risk because, as you said, they're pregnant. They're coming in to give birth, and they're not really super actively feeding. But after that ends, at the end of that season, now they're leaving and they're starving. You know what I mean? They've got to replenish all those calories they lost from giving birth. So I think that's really something I think locally we need to be better about communicating to people is, hey, this migration season is ending. If you're going to be out there, boaters need to be aware of this. Just be on high alert. But it's one of those situations where people and just like with the surfers, like with the black tips, you said, it's where people and sharks are cohabitating at that particular juncture, just out of coincidence.
Yeah, you've got to understand that you go in the water. There's going to be a chance. I mean, a great example is you have there was the summer of the shark in Florida when it was all over the news, and it was
Mm-hmm.
shark bite, shark bite, shark bite, shark bite, shark bite. And then the thing that took the summer of the shark off the front pages was 9/11. Because
Mm.
9/11 is a big story, but the summer of the shark, the number of shark bites that year was down on the number before. But the year before, there was another news story that was taking kind of precedence. So I think looking at the records, I think you can look at the records of shark bites, and they're going to be relatively consistent. There's going to be peaks every now and again for various reasons, but they're going to be relatively consistent. So you could probably plan if you were looking at, if you think, right, I live in Florida, so I'm going to look at the next 12 months. When is the biggest chance of me being bitten by a shark? When is the lowest chance of me being bitten by a shark? And you could probably plan your visits to the beach and going in the water around that and be fairly confident that you're going to be correct. That, like, if you want to get bitten by a shark, you could probably find the best time of the year when you can go and do that. But the
Yeah.
chances are still going to be pretty low.
So
So I think it's just one of those things.
yeah, the shark bite capital of the world specifically is a town not like a short drive for me called New Smyrna Beach.
New Smyrna Beach, yeah, in Volusia County, yeah.
Yeah, and looking at it
Next to the
from
Ponce Inlet, next to that inlet coming out from inshore.
yeah, and looking at it from like a drone or maybe having like a geologist even come and look at it, it becomes more and more obvious the more you look at the location why it's happening. You've got this site where the rocks are shaped in such a way that it creates these perfect waves for surfers.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very attractive to the surfers, but for the same reasons it's attractive to the surfers, it's attractive to bait fish. And then, of course, we've got the predators of the bait fish coming in, which is not necessarily like your big menacing great whites, but like blacktips, spinners, etc. Your smaller sharks, maybe even bull sharks. And so then here you have a lot of humans just obliviously dangling their feet in the water. Probably don't even realize the bait fish are schooling right past them, and there's some kind of predator right there, and they end up getting bit on the foot or in the calf or something. It just so happens that we are recreating at like their most perfect hunting ground.
Yeah,
in that
you've got
side of the
thousands
state.
of sharks in the water and thousands of people. At some point, it's going to come together, and it's one of those things. And there's going to be times when the bites are more catastrophic. There's that great story about the girl, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but kind of like pink hair, like really really cool kid. She's about like 15 or 16 when she got bitten,
Okay.
and she went and she lost. If I remember right, she lost a leg, maybe both legs, but I think it was a leg. But her attitude was kind of really sort of chilled about it. She went through this really traumatic event because getting bitten by a shark is a traumatic event.
Of course, yeah.
But she went through this traumatic event and kind of went away and thought, okay, it is what it is. I liked sharks beforehand. I still like sharks. I've got, one leg now instead of two, but it's fine. It's not going to stop me living my life, and I'm going to still move ahead doing what I do. And I think now people are more inclined to be like that. I think it's not like the olden days. You will still get
A little bit of
incidents
demonizing,
happen
maybe.
that are horrific. You
Yeah.
will still get those every now and again. It's going to happen, always going to happen. But the vast majority of them were, I think, I remember I used to work for the surf brand Quicksilver. I used to
Hmm.
work for them years and years and years and years ago. And it was an Australian girl that worked for me while I was there. And she told me that a friend of hers, when she was in Australia, had been attacked by a tiger shark. And he'd had quite a serious bite on his leg. And to him, it was the best thing ever. It was brilliant. He got away with it. He had this great story. And the way that she said it was that he never used to get girls. Then he got attacked by a tiger shark, and then he was fighting girls off with a stick because he had these big scars and he had this great story and he was in the news. And that people kind of look at it in a slightly different way now to what it used to be. That it's sort of you want to get away with it and you want the story to tell. So I think now people are definitely more pro shark than they've ever been in as long as I can remember.
And I think people that have been through that experience and come out of it with that sort of attitude help with that a lot. Like
Yeah,
I think one of the cool things about Paul DeGelder was his story of that. It was this big event on the news. What was it, 60 Minutes he was on that was talking about
yeah,
here's a guy who lost an arm and a leg to a bull shark in a military training thing, and now he's this big advocate for them. And then Shark Week caught on and was like, let's, have you be host and do all this stuff. And you just see more and more of shark advocates becoming being put in the public eye and giving a perspective you don't used to see on these animals,
well,
and now a lot of
Paul
them
de
are
Gelder's
people who have survived attacks from them.
Paul de Gelder's a great example because Paul de Gelder was a Navy diver, which is
Yeah.
a good career. It's a good career. So you do your time in the Navy, you're a Navy diver, it's a dangerous, exciting job. Then you leave the Navy, you have a Navy pension, but then what do you do? What do people in the military do after they leave the military? It's a
Yeah.
difficult thing for military personnel. There is no way on earth Paul de Gelder would be on Shark Week every year now. And Paul's in like feature films. He's in movies.
Yeah.
He's earning more money. He's earning a really, really good living now. And it's all because of what happened to him in Sydney Harbour. He would not be earning the money he's earning now or having the feature films or being on Shark Week if he didn't have what happened to him. But the great thing about Paul, if you had this thing happen to him, which was incredibly traumatic, it was his reaction to that. It was how he
Yeah.
dealt with it. So that was always inside him. He always had the capability to be the Paul de Gelder that we know Paul de Gelder to be now. But nobody would have ever known about it if that didn't happen to him when it did. So it's kind of one of them things where you could theoretically, and I can't speak for Paul because I'm not Paul, only Paul could ever answer this question, but the could there be potentially times when Paul is lying in bed thinking, do you know what? That was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Theoretically, you could look at it and go, look at what's happened
I
after
think he
that. Look at your
actually
life
phrased it
after that.
like
It's been
kind of
incredible.
similarly to that in the short interview I did with him. He's
So
like, I
yeah,
don't want to say
did
like
you
it was a
ever
good
ask him
thing.
about that? Did you
Huh?
ever kind of broach that subject with him?
Yeah, we did.
What did he say?
And it was like he's like, I don't want to say like it was a good thing, but it did open up some doors, basically, to put it succinctly.
I would imagine he'd probably rather have the arm and the leg still
Yeah.
there. I would probably, and again, I don't want to speak for Paul, but I would imagine that he probably would do. But when you look at, okay, I've lost an arm and a leg, but look at my life now compared to what it potentially would have been collecting a Navy pension and maybe, I don't know, well, I don't know what he would have been doing. I don't know Paul. I've spoken to Paul a couple of times, but I don't know him personally. But
I think you
I
really hit
like
the
him.
nail
I
on the
like
head
him a
with
lot.
talking about how like you just took basically taking lemons and making lemonade. Like, how do I turn this into something
Yeah.
positive? He very much so
And
explains it that
and you
way.
know what? I think fair enough. He's been through something unbelievably traumatic. That is, I think people don't necessarily understand or realize how unbelievably traumatic something like that is. And he's done it, and he's come out the other side with this incredible life, and all power to him. I think he's great. I like Paul a lot. I would very much like to sit down with Paul and spend some time with him and talk to him, and I think he's great. I really do.
He's probably going to run another trip to Bimini next November if you're looking to get some
Do you know,
footage.
I've not been to Bimini, and I
Oh, you
should
got to
go.
go.
Everyone tells me I need to go.
Did you see the clip I put out on socials of Queen, that gigantic great hammerhead?
Yes, I
Oh,
did. Yeah,
if nothing else, you got to see Queen. She's
they are
amazing.
spectacular animals.
Yeah, I think you would be as happy as a pig in the mud in Bimini. Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Let's see. Nilf asked, said they tried flying drones off of New Smyrna Beach so people could monitor when the sharks were in the waters. After a couple of days, many of the store owners convinced the county to stop because it was scaring all the tourists. That actually doesn't surprise me. What's interesting though, Nilf, is that so I try to spend as much time as I can droning at specific beaches where visibility is good and the sharks turn up a lot, or at least your flat sharks, your rays. Like we have a lot of eagle rays here. Um, and it's not the surfers who have a problem with it. Sometimes I'll get dirty looks from beachgoers, and I'm like, "Oh, get over yourself! I'm so not here to
Yeah.
film you. You know, I'm looking for animals." But most of the time, the surfers will come and talk to me afterwards and just say, "Hey, did you see any sharks? Like, or where are they? You know, they want to know." So a lot of the time, people are even grateful that you're kind of there to let them know if they should be aware of something around them because they can't
Well, there's
see
two
it from
great
where they're sitting.
examples. There's two great examples of that. And it is incredibly short-sighted of the local business owners to think that, because if you look at Hadira in Israel, so
Yeah.
the beach in Hadira in Israel is, it's not a particularly nice beach. There's a power plant at one end of it. It's not the most attractive place in the world, but every year between November and May, they have this huge influx of dusky and sandbar sharks
Yep.
that come within 5 meters of the shore. And locals will go and they'll take their children wading in the water with these big 3.5 meter sharks. Um, because it's like the sharks being there, it's interesting. So people want to go and see the sharks. So obviously something happened last year which wasn't great. But so this idea that when everyone realized, oh, Jesus Christ, every year we have these like massive cool sharks turning up right on the beach, people want to go and see the sharks.
Yep.
And then the same thing is if you look at the Malibu artist, Carlos,
Yeah.
in California. I was really fortunate. I had a chat with Carlos a couple of months back.
My
We
aunt
had
and
a
uncle
video
actually
call.
know him. They run one of the they're like groundskeepers for one of the campgrounds there that he goes and drones from.
Oh, Carlos is so cool.
I
He's
haven't had the
such a
opportunity to
cool
meet him
guy.
or speak to him, but I hope to at
He
some
is
point.
such a cool guy. But his content is
Actually,
the
I should try to
best
get him on
drone
here.
footage sharks that there is, easily. He is the master of that. He's unbelievably good. And I mean, he was telling me that when he's out, like he'll be out, he'll park his car and he'll be up with his drone, and within 10 minutes, there's people crowded around him because they know that it's him. They know he's the guy that's getting the white shark stuff. And he was telling me that people will put trackers like Apple AirPods,
On his car?
Apple AirTags on his car and
I'm not
follow him
surprised.
around. So he is, I mean, Carlos is doing great for himself, as he should, because he's brilliant. I cannot speak highly enough of Carlos, but people love his content
Yeah, myself
because, oh,
included.
wow, this is amazing. So I think flying a drone and showing that there's all these sharks swimming around, the vast majority of people would think it's incredibly cool.
Yeah, but I can definitely see how like there's a stigma with it, and I have a fairly quiet one. Like I have a DJI Air 3, but I did a roof inspection, for example, with one of them once, and I'm outside somebody's I'm taking pictures of this roof of a house next to an apartment complex, and somebody came out of their apartment to yell at me like, "Are you going to be done with this soon?" And I'm on a call and it sounds like a swarm of bees descending on my house. So like
It's people. There's you get people. I rarely get it. It's very rare. But when you have a camera out, and we live in a generation where millennials and Gen Z, I've never known anyone so comfortable being on camera. They will walk around. I still can't get my head around when you see on TikTok and there'll be a girl in the middle of a crowded airport doing a dance routine. That to me, I would rather shoot myself in the head than do
yeah,
that.
same.
But they're so comfortable doing it. So nowadays, cameras, everyone is so accustomed to just cameras everywhere and
Yeah.
being on camera. I just think there's some people that just want to be difficult. They just want to be difficult about it.
Yeah, and you're inevitably going to run into people like that. But,
Yeah.
someday, I think I will try to head down there myself. I'll probably try to line it up with some other plan of being down in that area, maybe a dive or something. But I would very much like to drone over New Smyrna Beach. I haven't done that yet. But
Go in the summer, you might get a shark attack. You'll
yeah, I'm good.
get yourself on CNN and NBC and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've had people ask me if I surf, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like with what I know about about
Yeah.
sharks? Like, of course not."
Yeah. I wouldn't do it.
I equate it to like think about it like this: when you're fishing, you are trying to create visual, vibration, sound, and smell stimulus for that shark. And so we make things like crankbait lures that create sound and vibration, for the predator to detect, like a bass, for example. And when you stand up and catch a wave, you've effectively just turned yourself into a human crankbait.
Oh yeah,
You've said, "I'm
surfers are a
prey and I'm
different
running
breed.
away." So
Surfers are a different breed. Those guys out in South Africa and Australia that are out surfing in those places, that there's the amount of guts that they've got to love something so much
and a lot
to
of them
go
know
and
the
bob
risk too.
around in
They're
the
just
ocean. It's incredible.
yeah. Like I think a lot of the time it's not that they're misinformed. Like they know the
Oh no,
animal
they know.
behavior, they
Yeah,
know the risk. They're just trying to mitigate it as much as they can and continue enjoying their sport.
and they see sharks all the time, and they think, well, I enjoy surfing more than I am afraid of sharks, and
Yeah.
I have the utmost respect for that. I really
I
do.
think
I
I've
just
actually
think,
heard it phrased that way, where they're like, "I'm afraid of sharks, but I'm more afraid of not being able to surf."
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, look at Reunion Island. They had to literally make surfing illegal to stop people surfing.
that's
You would
crazy. You can
have,
only imagine if we found some kind of popular hobby to do at like Guadalupe Island or something.
well, they have the. I I don't think it's abalone. I can't remember what it is that the divers, clams maybe, the Mexican divers were going to. The reason that they knew that Guadalupe was
I think it
there
is actually
was that all
abalone.
these Mexicans were getting eaten all the
Yeah.
time. So they knew that okay, there's something going on here, that all these Mexican divers are going out and getting eaten. So, and we don't hear about it. It's not going to make. It isn't going to make a headline news that a poor Mexican from a village that
Like
no
a
one's ever
subsistence
heard of
fishing
has
village
been eaten
too.
by a shark. Unfortunately, the world doesn't care. And that's not to say that those people are less important, because they're not, but the world on the whole doesn't care. But if you keep your ears to the ground and you think, okay, well, people keep getting eaten by sharks in this spot, so that means there's got to be loads of really big sharks there. So
Hmm.
let's go do a shark dive. South Africa, great example. What a lot of people don't know is that when they know about they know about Dyer Island and Shark Alley, where all the great whites go when they hunt the seals,
Right.
the sea lions. What people don't know is that there are people, really, really dirt poor Africans, black native Africans from the townships there, that the only way that they've got of making money is abalone and sea urchins, and
Oh.
they go out at night
Oh no.
in
Oh my
Shark
God.
Alley and Dyer Island, diving for abalone and sea urchins.
You
And
lost me at night
so
and great
many of those
whites.
divers never ever make it back to shore, but nobody cares because they're poor. And it's kind of one of those things where if the news in South Africa, for example, if a tourist in Fishhook, for example, gets eaten by a white shark, that's huge news. But if a poor black guy from one of the townships gets eaten in the middle of the night by a white shark,
Mm.
nobody knows because they don't tell anybody because they're poaching. So they don't want to get in trouble. So all these guys are going out and they're getting eaten all the time and
Wow.
nobody knows about it.
That's
It's
crazy.
crazy.
So
Like,
you
would you? I mean, I would not swim anywhere near
yeah.
Dyer Island, let alone go out at night
Yeah.
and dive.
I literally, my hair
We,
stood up on the back of my neck when you even suggested it because I'm familiar with the place. That's crazy.
and do you think those guys have top of the range kit and
No,
bright torches or anything? No, they don't. They're going out on cheap rubber
they're
boats.
probably lucky not to have some CO2 in there or, some carbon monoxide in their tank.
Exactly. And do you know what they're doing? Most of the time, they're shore diving. So they're surface swimming out
Oh
as
my
well.
God.
They are doing the most dangerous job on earth. And nobody, and it's a kind of a social thing as well, that when you look at it, it's like, okay, well, there's going to be people being attacked in Vanuatu or
Right.
French Polynesia that we never know about. It just happens. And the people on the islands know about it, but we don't know about it. So it doesn't go on the record because, yes, everyone's got mobile phones, but nobody in Vanuatu is going to lose their cousin to a shark attack and go, I must update the international shark attack file on my phone. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So it's the ones that we hear about are the ones that we know about, but there's going to be way more that are happening that no one's got a clue are even happening. But those guys that are doing that in Dyer Island and Shark Alley, it's insane. But it's happening that'll be happening. So South Africa are 2 hours ahead of where I am now.
Uh-huh.
There will be guys out there probably now diving for abalone or sea urchins
That's amazing.
just to make a living.
I'm glad you said that actually,
They
because
have
like,
to.
so I'll try to find stories like this that don't get a lot of attention, and that'll be a thing we talk about on the stream. Usually on a Tuesday night, we'll do like shark news or shark science studies. But like, even me being a person who nerds out on this stuff, I had never heard of that about these guys going at night to Dyer Island. Have you heard of the one you were talking about in Mexico is really interesting. I think it was actually on Shark Week last year. They actually did an episode about that where Dr. Mauricio Hoyos, which is like one of the more prominent shark scientists in Mexico, was going to one of these villages to try and help them mitigate these shark attacks. And so what they did was they tried to make affordable versions of the abalone cages that the fishermen use in Australia. And so they did that, but I actually reached out to him afterwards because I have this funny thing I bought, and it's probably nonsense, but there's an Australian company that makes stickers for your surfboard and a scuba mask strap that has eyes on the back of your head.
Yeah.
I know it's
not gonna work.
nonsense, but I asked him, I was like, did they think about this? And he goes, yeah, actually, we told people to draw eyes on the back of their strap. I was like, really? Did you hear what happened to that guy? You know Dr. Mauricio Hoyos?
Yeah, he got bitten in the face, didn't
Yeah, that was insane. I didn't know about that until I saw a picture of him, and I was like, what happened? Apparently it was Galapagos shark
Yeah.
just kind of turned the wrong way and like had his whole head in its mouth for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, Galapagos sharks, dusky sharks, they're underrated in terms of how aggressive they can be.
Really, I've
Yeah,
never
people
seen
don't
one.
necessarily realize that. When the attack happened in Israel last year, all the news are harmless shark or shark that everybody thought was harmless eats man. It's like no one that knows anything about or has any experience with them thinks that they're harmless. Friend of mine in Florida, brilliant shark photographer, a guy called Michael Patrick O'Neill, has told me so many stories about duskies that were just out of control,
Yeah,
complaining. He said they freaked him out because they
I
were so unbelievably aggressive.
I actually know a guy that lives in my town, and he runs one of those shark snorkeling operations, and I've seen him get bit. Well, I don't know if it was him or one of his feeders, but they got bit on the thigh by a dusky that just came up when he wasn't looking, and smelled the food on his gloves and ended up
Oh,
getting
they're
him on the thigh,
big
and it
and
immediately
powerful.
let go. But still, it was just like he looked away for at just the wrong time.
Yeah, well, that was the attack in Israel was at least two Duskies, probably
It
three,
was yeah, it was a
that
group.
got him at the surface, and then they took what they wanted of him, and then the rest of the guy that was left, it was the sandbar sharks that finished him off.
Oh, I didn't know that. Actually, that's
Yeah,
new information. So it's funny. It's funny you bring that one up, because there was a couple of papers. I think at least one paper on it, and a YouTube video made by a scientist named Christian Parton. He's got a YouTube channel called Shark Bites.
yeah.
Um, he's a friend of mine, and we had him come on the channel, and I think that was one of the topics we brought up. If not, we at least watched the video, read the paper, and checked it out. And that was a really interesting situation. Apparently, like one of the biggest factors with that too is the sharks were a little bit more excited because there was it was like a flood or some kind of weather anomaly
Well,
caused
they
the
have.
the
I
nearby
spoke to
river to kill all these freshwater fish and wash them out in front of the plant at Hedera.
theoretically, yes. It was probably an increase in sea temperature, but I spoke to two of the researchers there,
Yeah.
and they said so. It said what happens out in Hedera is the dusky sharks are predominantly. Let me get this the right way around. The dusky sharks are predominantly female, and the sandbar sharks are predominantly male.
Hmm.
Um, and there's huge numbers of them there. And what generally tends to happen is the dusky sharks are more towards the surface, and the sandbar sharks are more towards the bottom.
Okay.
So what they think happened with that attack was that it was two or three Duskies. Well, one Dusky, I've got a video of this on my TikTok as well. One Dusky decided it was going to go in, and like kind of monkeys in a cage, when one starts going, it sets the others off.
Yeah.
So one shark went in and it set the others off. These other two Duskies that went in, incredibly aggressive, killed the guy relatively quickly. They removed parts of him that they wanted to remove. And then as his body then sunk down, it was then the sandbar sharks that
That
finished him
finished
off.
it off.
And
Yeah.
I know they did say, the news reports did say that they found body parts. I do know what they found,
Oh
and
wow.
it was I don't think because it wasn't made public knowledge. I'm not going to say what it was, but it
Yeah,
was a
that's
very
fine.
small part. A very, it was essentially one body part. That's what was found. Um, but they figure out that one of the issues there was that he went out and he'd done this a lot. He'd gone out there filming with his GoPro quite a lot because he's a cool guy, liked sharks, wanted to go and get photos and videos, and he'd done it before. But what people don't realize is that in Hedera, they see the people paddling around in the shallows with the sharks. So there's that video of the girl on the stand-up paddleboard falling off on top of a shark. And a lot of people mistakenly say that's the Bahamas with the bull shark, but it's not. That's Hedera.
Right.
Um, so that's what a lot of people do. But as you go a bit further out, there's a really strong current.
Right, coming
And
out of the cooling tank from the
yeah,
plant.
so what they think happened was that he's in this current
Hmm.
with his GoPro. That this current was maybe a bit stronger than he thought it was, or a bit stronger than he was used to. He's finding it a little bit difficult. There was initial. They will say that they think that the electromagnetic signal from the GoPro might have excited the sharks. I don't think that's the case because it's such a small camera that puts out such a small electromagnetic field. It's if the GoPro had any impact, it'd be because he's at the surface and it's catching the light, so it's shining
Yeah.
and flashing. I think it was probably more he's just in the current and maybe
He's a little more
struggling
vulnerable.
a
They
little
saw an
bit.
opportunity.
Yeah, or approaching a shark to get a shot and it's not liked it so much. And then the other sharks have just seen the opportunity and then just got in. But it was always that was always going to happen. It was going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be last year, unfortunately.
It was surprising to
But
me that it was a local who had, and not like a tourist, somebody that had been
yeah.
there and done it a lot.
Well, the guy was a really good guy by all accounts. A really good guy. He just got unlucky. He just got
Yeah.
unlucky with it. I just
On
need
a
a very quick bathroom break.
Yeah,
if
go for
that's
it.
okay. Just bear with me 1 second.
No worries. I'll go ahead and take this opportunity to play another one of those ads to get rid of the pre-rolls for everybody. Thank you guys so much for chiming in with the questions. Again, if there's anything you want to ask David, we've got about 30 minutes left. We'll go till 11 Eastern, the top of the hour. Thank you so much, Tactical Grace, and thank you for the great questions. This has been really fun. David, again, was the first guest I've had on the stream last year. So it's really a joy to be able to do this again. And we get along famously. It's we have a lot in common, which actually there's a topic we're both very interested in that I'm going to try to broach here in a minute when he gets back. But yeah, as we close things out, if you guys have any questions, please don't be shy. Drop them in the chat. There are no stupid questions. We will do our best to answer them. Let me go ahead and... Did I hit the button? I don't know if I did or not. Let's do it again. And I'll also take this time when we get back from that to go ahead and promote. We're doing this again next Thursday, right? Is it next Thursday? Yes. A week from tonight, we have another interview coming up with a shark scientist from here in Florida at Florida Atlantic University. And that's Dr. Stephen Kajura. So if you enjoyed this tonight, do make sure you don't miss next Thursday. I've got an interview with Dr. Stephen Kajura about a new method of deterring shark bycatch that shows a lot of promise. So hopefully we'll see some of you here for that. Welcome back. So
Sorry about that.
I don't know what your agenda's like for the night, but I typically do end at 11, and that's about a half an hour out. But before we get too down to the wire here, there was something I wanted to ask you about last time that we didn't get around to, and it's a much lighter note than shark attacks and shark attack deaths. You mentioned a background in music, and I would love to hear more about this. So,
Okay, so I grew up in Manchester, which if you Americans, if you don't know, it's a very industrial city in the north of England. Great city, incredible place. So the UK. So when you think about kind of music and fashion and all the exciting things that are
it's a big
very
cultural
British,
hub.
a lot of them originated in Manchester. So incredible place. You've got football, music, culture, all this great city. But it's not great for sharks. And I knew as a little kid that I wanted to work with sharks. So I decided, okay, I'm not going to be able to just do it, just kind of do it from here. And I didn't necessarily want to go down the route of being a marine biologist because my careers teacher at school said, well, doesn't guarantee you'll work with sharks. You might have to work with seaweed or whatever. I was like, I don't want to work with seaweed. I want to work with sharks. So I figured, right, okay, I'll be a professional footballer. And what I'll do is I'll be a professional footballer. I'll be captain of Manchester United. And then I'll retire at 34, 35 and use the money I make from football to then go and do this career. That didn't work out, unfortunately. So after that, I made the obvious choice, which was I will be a rock star instead. So I ended up being a professional musician for 10 years. So I've always been really into metal. I absolutely
Hell yeah.
love metal. So I was a touring guitar player in a metal band for 10 years.
Why metal?
Why metal? I think I've always been. You see, you're a metal guy, so
Absolutely.
you'll probably relate to
I
this.
almost
But
wore an Ailstorm shirt tonight, actually.
what a voice she's got!
No,
Oh,
not
she's
Hailstorm.
incredible
Ailstorm, the
voice.
Scottish guys that do pirate-themed metal.
Oh, I'm thinking of the other band, aren't I? Like
Yeah, yeah.
Lizzie Henry. That's who I'm thinking of. Um, but I think with me, I've always been drawn towards. See, I'm like a quite a positive, optimistic, sort of friendly, easygoing, relaxed guy. But I've got a part of me that is really drawn towards darkness. So heavy metal, horror movies, things like that. Just things that are just dark, incredibly dark. I really, really like that kind of stuff. So I remember I heard Iron Maiden. No, it was Wasp, actually, when I was about
Really?
7 years old. And I can't remember the song, but I heard a Wasp song. And they showed the video. We have a TV show over here, or we had a TV show here called Top of the Pops. And I even remember they were number 7 in the charts at the time. I remember that. I remember
That's a hell of a
watching the
reference.
video and
Wasp doesn't
seeing
get a lot of call-outs like that.
it's great. I remember seeing Blackie Lawless and just thinking, what is this? This is not like other music that was around it. It was totally different. And then I remember not a long time afterwards hearing Iron Maiden and seeing a similar kind of thing, being like, oh, this feels scary and dangerous.
Yeah.
And then it was Guns N' Roses. And then I discovered Metallica and I was like, okay, this is it. This is it for me. And it was just, I think, for me, metal is the greatest genre of music that's ever been invented, and I'll qualify that. I think classical music is the pinnacle of music. I think in terms of looking at it as a musician, in terms of music theory, in terms of as an expression of feeling as art, it's so incredibly layered and well done and intelligent and
There's a lot of depth.
there's so much depth, and it's about a journey, and it's so well thought out. There's so much to it. Metal is the closest thing to that, but what metal has is this raw energy. So it's kind of working class kids that would never be in a position to make these incredible classical music pieces, making the equivalent of these incredible classical music pieces, but with energy and anger and aggression. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just pure and it's real. And I think Metallica, for me, they just did it for me. And then it was Pantera, it was Megadeth, it was
Oh yeah.
Anthrax, and then now Gojira and bands like that. And
Oh
it's
my
just
God! Did you that piece, that mea culpa piece they did for the Olympics was insane.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Oh, gives me chills.
This is the thing with metal that you can't do with any other genre. Metal can adapt to every single jazz metal, pop metal, rap metal, prog metal. It adapts to every other genre, but no other genre will do that.
Yeah, you've pretty much named too, like a lot of the heavy hitter favorites of mine, like your Pantera, your old thrash Metallica, especially big Iron Maiden fan. But what I really become drawn to lately is kind of obscure stuff. Like, of course, I listen to various different kinds of music, and it's usually to elicit some kind of mood. You know, like if
Yeah.
we're going out and we're gonna be on the water or we're gonna go to the beach, I'm gonna listen to like reggae or steel drum or something. You know, if I want to get hyped up, get pumped for something, like before I get on a stream, I'm gonna listen to some thrash. You know, I'm gonna listen to something
Yeah.
that's got a really fast, like double bass drum that's got some really hard hitting guitar riff. But the stuff that's really spoke to me as of late is like your what do they call it? Like your themed, uh, oh I forget, like I guess folk metal. But so like, have you heard of? Are you familiar with Amon Amarth?
Yes.
Yeah, I love those guys. Like Viking themed metal for anybody in the chat who's not familiar. You have these like Norse guys who are making really intense music about Norse mythology and their approach to combat and things like that. And it's so hard to listen to that and not be like, feel like you're ready to go into battle, you know?
Yeah, it's like alien weaponry Maori metal that they
Yeah.
stick very closely to Maori
I'm so glad you said
culture.
that because they actually, I completely forgot the name. Somebody mentioned them to me before and I did not add it to my list. I'm going to do it right now.
In fact, Hamish, who was with me in Fiji, I think it's his second cousin is the, I want to say his second cousin is the drummer in Alien Weaponry. He's got some kind of familial connection to Alien Weaponry.
Right.
And I got really into Bloodywood, Bangra metal, Indian Bangra metal.
That's neat.
They are so good. And it's
There's
it's one of those things that there's no other music that moves a group of people like metal does. I remember I was at Donington 2006, and I still think that's the greatest festival lineup that there's ever been. So Friday was headlined by Tool. Saturday was Metallica doing the Master of Puppets. It would have been the 20th anniversary. Yeah, 20th anniversary. So they played it back to front. And then Sunday was Guns N' Roses. But I remember watching Tool on the Friday and just being struck by being in the presence of genius and watching the people around you and just thinking, how can music be this good? How can you write music which has 100,000 people locked in and just behaving in ways you would never behave in normal society?
oh,
I think just the whole thing with so many people who like Sharks like metal,
you know
and
what?
so
Actually,
many
I'm glad
people.
you said that because that made me think of a question. So, the you know like bands will always have like their unique thing, and like in the case of like a Monomarth, for example, instead of some kind of mosh pit style, they all sit down and do this rowing thing. Like they have
Yeah,
a chant and a drum beat, and everybody's putting their hands on the person in front of them, and they're sitting down and just go and rowing and yelling "row" every time. Like it made me. I was daydreaming once about like, okay, if my little solo project Bite Force, if I ever actually did have to do a show, I'm sure it'll never happen. But we'd have to come up with something. I'm sure that would be called like a feeding frenzy. What would it be? Like, what
I
would it
guess
be?
kind of like I think it would probably be a mix between a wall of death and a circle pit.
I was thinking like two circle pits going opposite directions.
I was at Wembley Stadium, and it was for what year was this? Now this would have been 2017 maybe, and it was Metallica headlining Wembley. They had Machine Head
Wow.
supporting, and there were four circle pits going separately for Machine Head.
Wow.
And kind of you just look at it and just think it's and this is the great thing about metal is that you don't care. And I think one of the best things to experience for me is I like experiences which are guttural, which are this visceral. There's nothing about it which is controlled. Like I'll look at a rave or something like that, and I'll see a guy with a laptop. And it's like, well, it's just a guy with a laptop, and people are dancing, and they've got and they enjoy it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But like a Slayer show, a Pantera show, where it's human beings creating this noise that sends people into behaving in a way you'd never normally would, but it's still like a brotherhood. I think the closest thing to it is a football match, a last minute winner where you're jumping all over the place, you're hugging strangers, and you're just kind of, it's this outpouring of emotion.
Yeah.
And I just don't see any other music that does that. I love, I've got a really eclectic taste. I like anything if it's good, if it's a great composition. I even like some bad music. I can look at bad music and go, "That's a terrible song," but for some reason I love it. I don't know why, But there's something about metal that's so pure and so real that it moves people who get it in a way that no other music moves them.
Yeah, it speaks to you in some way.
Yeah,
I think
it's
the best
visceral as
example
well.
the best example I can think of what you're describing in terms of like there's like a camaraderie and like and people are kind to each other, but also it makes you kind of just I don't know how to phrase it, like it's very energetic and it's easy to get into it and just act wild. But the best summary, like if I were to just take like a sound clip to summarize that mentality, I forget what Slayer song it is, but they did a live recording of a Slayer album, and at the end of one of their songs, they're like, "Hey," you hear Tom Araya go, "This is just a reminder that if somebody falls down, help them up." And because that's what we're here to do, is help each other out. All right, the name of this next song is War Ensemble, and and it just goes crazy after that. And you're like, "Yep, that's metal. That checks out. Like everybody's all here to be brotherly love, but also this is insane."
It's incredible to me now that because I was there with so as a band we were there when new metal was just becoming the big thing, and my band is in fact let me just check. I might have the book here. Bear with me 1 second. Do I have it? I know
Tactical, I
I've
didn't
got
miss
it.
your question. I'm just waiting to fit it in.
Okay. It's not in the office. It's not here in the office. It's somewhere. But my band was included in the A to Z of the most important metal bands. No, is it the A to Z of the most important new metal bands of all time?
All right, I
And
need
I
a
don't
name.
think I would never class us as a new metal band. We were like a cross between Alice in Chains and Pantera. We were
What was it
metal.
called?
We were called Nerve Engine. So we were like we all loved Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and bands like that. But it was my band. I kind of named it. I wrote most of the songs like Metallica, Megadeth, Pantera, Gojira, bands like that, Slayer. So we kind of had this unusual sound to it. Alternative metal would have been what we would refer to in the day. And what's fascinating to me now is I will go on TikTok and I'm seeing people these girls doing the what's that girl called, the singer? It's that Lush Life is the song, but dancing to Freak on a Leash by Korn.
Okay.
And like Korn are all over TikTok at the moment, like this whole new metal revival. And I think it's brilliant because new metal was brilliant back in the day. Everyone hated it.
And my wife
Everyone
actually just discovered System of a Down.
well, people used to back then. So we'd play shows, and we could play shows to 5,000 people one day and 20 people the next day. It was like that. We did the whole unsigned band thing. And everyone used to look at Limp Bizkit and be like, "Oh, Limp Bizkit, Limp Bizkit." But now Limp Bizkit are kind of like, "Oh, it's Limp Bizkit. They're amazing. They always
Yeah,
were
I wish
amazing."
they hadn't.
But I see. I love Limp Bizkit. I love the whole new metal thing. So I would look at. I came from a background of I used to collect thrash metal vinyl. So I had the first ever Flotsam and Jetsam album on
I don't
vinyl.
even know what that is.
So Jason Newsted, who is the bass player in
Yeah.
Metallica, his first band was Flotsam and Jetsam.
Ah,
So he
okay.
left Flotsam and Jetsam to join Metallica. I had their first album on vinyl. I
Wow.
had Fistful of Metal by Anthrax on vinyl.
Wow.
So I was always really big into it. But as metal progressed into different things, I embraced it. I like groove. I like stuff that I like hip hop as well. Wu Tang and Mobb Deep and NWA and things like that. So I always really embraced it. So for me now, I look at it and kind of, I think it's brilliant that these kids are looking at they're going, "Oh, wish I was around in the 90s." It's like, yeah, the 90s was the best decade ever. The 90s was fantastic. 90s into early 2000s was amazing. I'd go back there in a shot. But I just think there's this thing with metal and sharks and horror films, and it kind of goes hand in hand that these people on the outskirts of society find these different things, and I'm that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was always able to integrate into normal society and like cool society, but I'm the outsider.
It
It
reminded
just
me when you
adds
were
to
describing it. It reminded me very much of Bruce Dickinson and his like fascination with the macabre, you know, and how that
yeah.
inspires a lot of the songs and whatnot. It's actually speaking of them. So that my introduction to metal, I don't even know what I was listening to before that. I think I was taking a guitar class as a kid and learning to play Beatles and stuff. But my aunt was a roadie for some of the bands you just named. It was Iron Maiden, Guns N' Roses, and AC/DC. And
Oh,
so
cool.
like she was dating the lighting guy who was, I think it was the same lighting guy, and then so she ended up being their guitar tech for I think a couple of years or something. Um, and so she heavily influenced my taste in music. So I started to get into that stuff, and then started to discover other things, and like your Metallicas and what have you. And obviously, by that time, I was there for new metal when that became a big thing. It was really into like Deftones and uh, for a while that was like a phase, and System of a Down was huge. Um, but there was one show that blew my mind that really sealed the deal for me. So I graduated high school in '05. I want to say it was like 2 years before that. Went to like my first big show. I'd been to concerts before, but this is the first time like I bought the ticket because I wanted to go. I wasn't just dragged by somebody else or something. And this was like a big scale show at the theater at Fair Park in Dallas, and they called it the BFD, the big freaking deal, and it was uh Maiden headlining, and before them was Dio, and then before them was Motorhead. And
Wow.
so yeah, can you imagine? Like, I count my blessings that I was able to catch Motorhead and Dio while I had the chance.
That's three genre-defining bands.
Yeah, like it was no surprise how they came by the name for the show because that is a big freaking deal.
My as a guitar player, like my approach to the guitar is the same or was the same as my approach to film in the sense that there's no rules. So it was always a case of I would sit there and I had music theory knowledge. I did a music degree
I don't.
at university, but my thing was always how do I make the instrument sound different? How do I don't want to copy like James Hetfield is to me the greatest rhythm guitar player of all time. James Hetfield defined metal. James Hetfield is metal. So for me, it's James Hetfield, Dimebag Darrell, Nuno Betancourt, and probably Dave Mustaine and Marty Friedman as well. I mean, just
Mhm.
all incredible guitar players. But I looked at them and go, that's who I love, and that's who's a big influence. But how do I put me into it? Um, so that was always kind of my approach, is to try and look at the instrument and do things that were different with the instrument,
I call
and
that
do
the like Eddie Van Halen approach, where he's like making animal noises and things with it, trying
yeah.
to get it to do
It was
something that
using
hasn't been
chords
done.
that aren't used in metal. That was the thing. Okay, if it's not used in metal, like major ninths, so I'm gonna write the heaviest riff I can imagine with a major nine in there. So it's and that's the kind of thing with like when you look at someone like Dime, for example. There's this story that he was a drummer,
He
but
was a local
obviously his
legend for
brother
us. I grew
Vinny.
up in Dallas where he was from.
I worship Pantera. Pantera are an unbelievable band, and Dime for me is the greatest guitar player that's ever lived.
Yeah, I think a
Like
lot of people would agree with you on that.
I don't. The Hendrix obviously paved the way, an incredible player, but nobody mastered the instrument like Dimebag Darrell. And I roadied for Dream Theater, so
Did
I
you really?
worked with John Petrucci. I
Wow,
watched John Petrucci play and
that's cool.
sound check. That's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. Watching John Petrucci sound check.
Yeah, I've got one of his
Uh,
picks right here.
he's what an unbelievable musician. But Dime is a better player
Hmm.
than John Petrucci. John Petrucci he's got the technical chops and he's a great player. He's a great riff writer. But Dime had personality
You're
that
right.
nobody else had.
And
And
when people
there's that
say that
story.
like guitar tone is all in the fingers, I feel like they're talking about guys like Daryl in that moment.
Slash. and Dimebag Darrell. They're
Yeah,
two players that you cannot replicate. You could pick up their guitar with the lead, with the pedals into the amp, and you'll never sound like them.
exactly like him. Yeah.
Slash and Dime, they're the two players that do that. But there's that great story about Dimebag where he was a drummer, and obviously their dad was a musician, but Vinny was also a drummer, and Vinny was a really good drummer. And they wanted to start a band, so we can't have two drummers. So Dime was like, "Oh, okay, I'll be a guitar player." And then he spent a summer off school.
I was the same way. I wanted to be a drummer, and then I got a guitar for Christmas, and I was heartbroken.
Well, they said that with Pantera, they said, okay, we want to start a band. And Dime was like, okay, I'll be the guitar player. Then they didn't see him all summer. Then he came back at the end of summer and he was a virtuoso. He just picked it up and just did it.
And it
It
just
was just
was.
him. And you can tell that by the way he plays. And I saw him with Damage Plan. I never saw Pantera, but I saw him with Damage Plan. But you watch him and you listen to him play guitar and he make the instrument sings.
Yeah.
It's got he did things with the instrument that he's just like, how did you do that? How
It
did
was
you come
really
up
just
with
like
that?
an extension of his personality.
Yeah, and he used so many major chords in metal. And you look at the greatest riffs ever written, Dime's up there. There's like the middle riff in Strength Beyond Strength, the middle riff in This Love. I look at also, I would say that the greatest riff ever written is Holy Wars by Megadeth. I think it is so difficult, but I do think that is the best riff ever written. I just think it's so good. But then you've got Battery, Master of Puppets, Creeping Death, Dyer's Eve. All the
You just named all my favorite warm up songs.
yeah, metal is just it just has the you don't get into. Some people get into metal and it's a phase, but most people get into metal and it's there forever. It just is like kind of like jazz, I guess. Like when you love jazz, you love jazz, and you love jazz forever. I like pop music too. I think like "Call Me Maybe" is an incredible piece of pop music. It's a
That's a hell of a
throwaway
segue.
radio pop song, but what a brilliant song that is.
Yeah.
And you've got to look at Madonna's back catalogue or Michael Jackson's. They're incredible compositions. They're brilliant. They're incredibly simple and pop music for the masses, but they're just brilliantly done. Lady Gaga, Paparazzi, great song, absolutely brilliant song. But again, Lady Gaga, huge metal fan, massive metal
I
fan.
didn't know that.
Yeah, she's huge metal fan, Lady Gaga. Cameron Diaz, again, that's another massive metal fan. Loves Megadeth, Slayer, and Metallica. Like the big four, Cameron Diaz loves them.
Huh.
So it's kind of metal is just this. It's this thing. It will never, ever go away, ever. And
Uh,
now it's kind of getting a little bit of a revival, which I think is fantastic. I
yeah,
love
I
it.
love to see that. We had two good questions here from Tactical Grace. You may have already answered one of them. So they asked, you said you wanted to be a rock star, but I don't think you said what you did as an artist. So you wrote songs and played guitar? Is
I
that
was
it?
a songwriter and guitar player.
Okay.
I kind of, I was, I guess, a cross between Lars Ulrich and Dimebag Darrell. I would say I was never as good as Dimebag Darrell. Never as good. I was
Everybody's got
good.
their
I was,
influences.
yeah, I was a good guitar player. But I had that kind of the business thing and drive that Lars has. Uh, Metallica is Metallica because of Lars.
Hmm.
Obviously, you've got the talent of James and Kirk and Jason and Cliff and all those players, but Lars is the reason why they are what they are.
Yeah, he's the one pushing
So
them
I
to do
had that
more.
kind of single-minded focus of Lars, and then kind of a cross, I guess, between James Hetfield, Dimebag Darrell, Nuno Bettencourt, and probably a bit of Dave Mustaine in there as well.
Okay.
I'd say, but yeah, guitar player, songwriter.
So would that be like your top, if I asked you your top three guitar influences, that'd be it?
I would say Dimebag Darrell, James Hetfield, and Dimebag Darrell, James Hetfield, probably Nuno Bettencourt. Yeah, I think
Okay.
Nuno's one of the greatest guitar players ever to walk the earth.
I would say for me, I'm not. I'm a guitarist with a lowercase g. I am not. I tell people I'm not a guitarist. I'm a vocalist who has some guitars. But um, my three would probably be in this order: Zach Wild first, because I saw
Yeah.
Ozzy and it blew my mind, and I became a big Black Label Society fan after that. Just his harmonic pinches, I was like, "What is that?" And then obviously, and then Dimebag Darrell and Hetfield after that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can't look at the guitar as an instrument and ignore James Hetfield.
Yeah.
My big thing was I've got a friend of mine, Bobby, and he always used to joke that I've on my arm I've got like this muscle there, and he always used to call it the chugging muscle because like James Hetfield was my god, so everything was downstrokes,
Yeah,
and it
it's
was that
just
kind
oh
of. And
man,
people talk about the whole '88 Hetfield creeping death downstrokes
my
because
arm's
it's
getting
way
sore just
faster
thinking
than it
about
is
it.
on
I
the
was playing
record.
Battery yesterday after we talked about it.
Yeah, it's that kind of everything downstrokes, that sort of aggressive approach to it.
There was some
But then
interview with him. I don't
I love
remember what it
guitar
was
players
for.
like Stephen Carpenter as well.
Who?
Steph Carpenter from Deftones.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Wes Borland, I think, is an amazing guitar player.
Mm-hmm. He's also got a very unique style, actually.
Yeah.
But I wish I could remember what it was from. There was a moment that happened to be on film. I don't remember if it was for a documentary or what, but they were interviewing. It might have been for some kind of monster, but they were filming James Hetfield, and they were practicing a specific song, and he was like, "Oh, there's a lot of guga guga in that song, and I got to get back in guga guga shape," you know. Just talking
You
about all
really
those.
do.
Yeah,
That's the thing. When we would play shows, it was you would come out of it exhausted,
yeah,
like physically exhausted, because you're obviously the adrenaline's going because you want to perform to people. But the whole idea is that people have paid money to come and see you, and that there is no greater compliment than they could be at home watching TV, they could be doing this, they could be doing that, but they've taken money that they and then let's be honest, you're not getting lawyers and surgeons coming to watch you most of the time. You're getting people with low paid jobs or maybe no jobs. And they're paying at the time when we were playing, it could be £5 a ticket or £10 a ticket. That's money that they're choosing to pay to come and watch you play. So you have a responsibility to give absolutely everything you possibly can
yep.
into providing like a show for them, letting them know that you appreciate that. And you'd come out of it just exhausted. But those days where touring in the back of a van and going all around the country and playing to people is some of the best times of my life. And those guys that I'm in the band that I was in the band with, they're still my closest friends now to this day. And we've known each other almost 30 years.
That's awesome.
Um, I love those guys, more than anything. We went through this incredible experience, and we got so close. Like we were. I remember there was a review of one of our EPs, our last EP actually, and they essentially said we were the new Metallica. And there was a quote in it that said riffs that Hetfield would be proud of, and that to me, I was like, right, that's it.
Oh
I'm
my
done.
god, I would cry.
I'm done. They've literally compared me to James Hetfield. That's all I needed.
Just put that guitar up on the wall now.
It's like those kind of things, and I always try to excel. I always try to achieve excellence with everything, and not excellence in the sense of that reviewers are going to say this is excellent. Excellence in the sense that the people that watch it or listen to it walk away and go, I feel like I've been given some value here. The person that's created this for me values what I think about it, because
Mhm.
that's really important to me.
Hell yeah. And it's all about just like putting it all out there, right? Just leaving it all out on the floor, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, you give everything to it. There's no point half-assing it. Give
Yeah.
everything. Because people will always respect that. They will always respect that you might not be the best at something, but if you give everything to it,
Yeah,
they
but
will
damn it, he's
always respect
passionate
it.
and he did it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's as long as that passion is palpable, I think that's what really makes the difference between a very skilled musician and the best musicians.
Yeah. Passion is everything. because there's so if you think about it with life, how often do you come across passion? Very, very, very rarely. And when you do, it leaves a lasting mark on you. When you meet someone who's truly passionate and authentic and real, you remember that person forever. And not
And that's
everyone
exactly
can
what
do
drew me to
that.
your movie.
Sorry?
That's exactly what made your movie stick with me, was the palpable passion for what you're doing.
That means everything to me because I put my entire life into that.
And
I
you can see
love
that.
it. I love that. Just being there's things that I love with so much passion and so much fire that you can never ever take them away from me. There's
Mm.
just these things that I just have this deep, passionate love for. And if people bring them up in conversation and want to talk to me about them, I cannot help but just spilling myself out
I think we
about
just
it.
did.
And it's kind of, I think people like that because they don't encounter it often. They encounter
Mhm.
people at work or with the families or with the friends that are just kind of all they want to talk about is a TikTok trend, or they want to talk about this thing. It's like, but when somebody just believes something so much and loves something, I saw something the other day, which was these guys out doing like pretending to be Jedi's, and I think they were kind of bringing this new guy that wanted to be a Jedi into the group. And you're going to get a lot of people that look at that and laugh at it. And I just look at it and think, that's loads of guys who are mates with each other. They've got the same interest and they love it and they don't give a shit what anybody else thinks about it. That's just who they are. And I
Mhm.
love that. I think it's amazing.
So it is the usual cutoff time for the evening. I don't have a hard out per se, but there is actually something I wanted to ask you. I had an interesting conversation with a scientist named Carly Jackson. She's really cool. She runs an organization called Minorities in Shark Sciences. Or she was one of the co-founders, I should say. And she gave me an idea. So I've got all these lyrics that I haven't, finished fleshing out riffs for these shark hunting behavior songs. And she gave me a really funny idea for one, because she was saying that her favorite shark is the nurse shark. And I was like, okay, why? So we kind of rabbit holed into that for a second. And she said because they have this joke that because when they fish for them to do a workup on them, they are just dead weight on the line until they get them up in the boat. And as soon as they're out of the water, they just immediately choose violence. They're thrashing around and they fight harder than anything else they've dealt with once they're in the boat. And so she said they joke that they are just laying at the bottom of the ocean building up rage. And I said, that is hilarious, and now I must write some lyrics about this. Like I've got to make a song about a nurse shark just like brooding and thinking violent thoughts with these glowing red eyes or something as it does this evil laugh being pulled up to the boat, and then wow, just like break into some crazy thrash moment. Uh, if we were to write, I mean, we're not going to do this, but if we were to write a metal song right now about a shark species, what would you say? What would you say is a great candidate? Mind you, I've already done great whites. Working on a bump and bite song for bull sharks, so that's all about how they don't rely on vision to feed. And I've got one called "Bring the Hammer Down" about hammerheads, and then the nurse shark one. Everything else is open season.
Oh, that's a really good question. I would say, that is I would say for the nurse shark, you'd want to be listening to a lot of Down and Crowbar. Um, what shark species would I do? That is a really good question. My automatic thing was going to be bull shark, but I would always say bull shark. But I would say oceanic white tip. And if you were going to say if the oceanic white tip was a band,
That's what I was going to
it
say.
it would be oceanic white tip as a band would probably be Megadeth.
Oh, okay.
Megadeth or Anthrax?
What about, I'm immediately envisioning something like really chaotic, like Mechanics.
Something like that, yeah. So if it was Megadeth, I would say Megadeth Oceanic White Tip would probably be Hook in Mouth from So Far, So Good, So What. That would be that, I think.
Okay.
And I would say Mako would be Holy Wars.
For if I was to write a song about an oceanic whitetip, what would there? I would love for there to be a trait of theirs. That's usually what I do with these songs is fixate on a trait of theirs or a behavior of theirs that they're famous for, or this like a defining trait of that species. What would you think would be the thing to focus on for
Being completely in your face, just being in your face and
just their pure
not giving
aggression?
a shit. Punk rock. Oceanic White Tips are just punk rock. So their Oceanic White Tips are pretty thrash metal, I would say.
Okay.
I would say Rust in Peace here and Megadeth.
Nice. I like it. I'm taking notes. So there may come it may never I may never get around to it, but there may come a day when I have at least a concept of a Oceanic Whitetip song, and that will heavily influence it. So thank you. I
I want
hope
to
we
hear
can.
this album when it's done.
Huh?
I want to hear this album when it's done.
Oh yeah, and I'll notate too. I'll be like, all right, these people gave the inspiration for these songs.
Yeah, that is a question. Like, have a Shark as a band. Like, if you could say a Shark was a band, that would be a really interesting question. I think. I think Blue Shark could be Rush.
Why
You got me
rush?
thinking about this now.
Today's
But no,
Tom Sawyer gets high on you.
I
Oh,
just
that's
think
really funny.
there's just this thing between sharks and metal.
Imagine the bull shark as Black Label Society. Like I'm thinking of the song Funeral Bell.
Yeah, Bull Shark for me. I think Bull Shark could be Pantera.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Domination.
Yeah, just the. I mean, Sharks are the best. I can't. I don't. I can't understand how anyone could not like them.
And you can kind of see where my head's at with this too, though. Like that stuff writes itself. You know, like shark
Yeah,
metal
it
songs.
really does.
All I got to do is come up with rhymes. It's already writing itself. Other than that,
I definitely want to hear this when it's done.
The last thing I was doing, I could play like a riff idea for you if you want. The last thing I was working on was the concept for the Bump and Bite song. So the idea, I'm actually going to try to sneak the scientific name Carcharinus lucas into the song. This will be my first time doing like a whisper scream. And it's gonna transition from this fast chuggy to a slower, really abrupt switch to a slow, heavy chuggy riff.
Yeah, it's gonna be fat.
Huh?
It's gonna be fat.
Yeah.
And incidentally, as well, you mentioned Carcharinus Lucas. That's why my son is called Lucas.
I think I remember you saying that now that you mention it.
His mum wouldn't let me put the E in it, though. I wanted to call him Lucas, Leuces, Leucas. She wouldn't let me put the E in. So I won the battle calling him Lucas. I was like, okay, we'll take the E out. But that's why my son's called Lucas, because of the bullshit.
That's so funny. I have a friend who is he was a mechanic on like really fancy cars, loves cars. He is to cars like you are to sharks, and he used to work on like Ferraris, Lambos, and stuff like that. And his kids he would try to use car names that he really liked, but he would have to find ones to sneak past his wife so she wouldn't catch it. So like Karina was one of them, and I forget gosh, I forgot the another name. I haven't talked to them in so long. But he had a dog named Shelby, and it was the same before they had kids. You know that he was like, I want to give the dog a car name, and she was like, no car names. So that was how he.
Murcielago. Gallardo.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be a bit much. Uh, Hold on a sec. I'm changing audio profiles here.
While you're doing that, thank you to everybody watching as well. It always it means a lot when I do these kind of things that people actually turn up and stick around and listen and get involved and ask questions and things. I don't think they realize how much that means. I think it's a really, really cool thing that people do that. And it's just, I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate it because I'm sat kind of watching the chat going up and people getting involved and talking and things like that. And it's great. I really appreciate you being here. And I know you're here, obviously for you, less so
I
probably
don't know
for
about
me,
that.
but it's nice that it's great to have you all here as well. So.
I just don't think there's anybody else on the platform talking about sharks and metal at the same time, so we're filling a niche. But yeah, no, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming by and doing this, and indulging us with this discussion. People really seem to be enjoying it, so thank you again for making the time. I
I
really
love doing
appreciate
it.
it.
I'll come back anytime you want. I really, really enjoy. I think what you're doing is great. I think your idea with the channel, you do it in like a really different way. It's entertaining. It's great. I could talk to you all night. So I'll come back anytime you like. I do want to say as well, if you let me plug something,
Please do.
uh, I'm in South Africa,
Oh
June
yes,
the 21st to 27th. If you like filming underwater, and you want to learn a bit more about it, I'm running a workshop. So I'm running a workshop during the sardine run in South Africa. So you guaranteed sharks, humpbacks, dolphins, maybe marlins, sailfish, like who knows what could turn up, Brudis whales, all that kind of stuff. I'm running a workshop to teach you professional underwater filming techniques during one of the greatest, if not the greatest, predatory event on planet Earth in the ocean. So if you want to join me, there are still some places left. So you can absolutely do that. And I will. Do you want me to email you the address to go to book on and find out more information?
that would be
Actually,
fantastic. Actually, I was just gonna say
Legend.
if people want, if by chance somebody here in the chat was wanting to, or somebody watching this on YouTube, because I am gonna post this on YouTube if you're all right with that.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
if they wanted to reach out to you to inquire about that trip, how would they go about it?
Probably the best way would be um, it would be great if people could follow me on TikTok and Instagram. So I am on, if you go on TikTok, it's, if you just put my name in David Diley, Diley, you'll come across me. On Instagram, Scarlet View Media,
I got the link right
you'll
here.
find me on there. But it'd be great to have you on there and stuff. I like to do. I'm going to Egypt in 2 weeks on a 4 week shoot, so I'll be doing videos every day, hopefully, and then I'll be doing videos every day from South Africa as well. So there'll be tons and tons of content going out. But yeah, it'd be great to have people there and message me, comment, whatever. I love uh, communicating with people. I really, really like it. People that have got the same kind of interest, sharks and diving, the marine world, and all that kind of stuff. I love talking to you. So you're very welcome.
Uh, Thank you for the kind words. I would absolutely jump at the opportunity to go on a trip like that, but I got to be honest with you, the budget's not there. However, we could do something crazy if the community was up for it, and like you notice down here, like I've got a goal set right now to help me replace this terrible rickety old chair because I had some neck problems and I'm trying to actually take care of myself. But normally, what we do is that little goal for subscriptions in the center is for 100 subscriptions, and when we get that, I use that to fund a dive that I'll go film, and then we watch the
Oh,
footage
cool.
together. Yeah, so it might be it might be a little too ambitious, but there's two ways, main ways that people contribute to a Twitch stream like this, and that's subscriptions and bits. And bits are just a one-to-one currency for USD. So like 1 bit is a penny. And so what I could do is something like a bit goal for the cost of that trip. And then if people wanted to see me go on that trip with you, we could see if they could fund it before a certain deadline.
Okay, great. Well, the other side of that, I think that's a great idea. Um,
When would you
what
say
I'm
is like a
hoping that we
cutoff?
can do.
When would you say is like a cutoff date for when you're asking people to reach out by to book for that trip?
Well, until all the places are booked. So we've got 14 places is the maximum. And there are still places left. There are still places because we launched this with quite a short notice period. So we launched it in February, I want to say February, and it's in June. But what I'm thinking is that if it goes well, which hopefully it should do, all the others have gone well, is that we might do another one next year for the sardine one, which gives people plenty of opportunity to save up and get booked on and like. Whereas with this time, there'll be maybe 3 or 4 months to actually get onto it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll probably know by July if we want to do it again next year, which will give a whole year to actually get booked onto it. But it's what we've done as well with the price of it is 1,000. So if you want to share a room, so it includes 7 nights accommodation, 5 days diving, 2 dives a day, breakfast, and transfers from Durban down to Margate. If you want to share a room, it's €1,350. If you want to have your own room, it's €1,500 plus flights on top. So we've kept the price down as much as we possibly can. So if we do it again next year, I imagine it would be around about the same kind of price, which is definitely at the cheaper end of these kind of workshops. So in terms of what you'll learn way more than you would do on other workshops, and it's the sardine run as
If I
well.
was
So
somehow able to make it on one of these trips, is this sort of experience going to be lost on somebody like me who's just who's just swimming around with a 360 camera on a stick? Or
no, it's for everybody. So the way that I've kind of structured it is it's all the techniques that I use as a professional, but you can apply them to somebody who's got a GoPro or somebody who's got a Red. And
okay,
the idea is because the concept of uh, it's not an underwater videography workshop; it's an underwater filmmaker workshop. So the idea is how do you create better product at the end of it. So whether you're just doing it for TikTok or you're doing it because you want to become a professional, the concepts are exactly the same. It's exactly the same. So it doesn't matter what camera you've got. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. You need to be experienced enough to handle the diving. But in terms of you don't have to have a super expensive setup to do it because the concepts are exactly the same. So I would say to somebody who came to me and said, right, I want to be a professional like you, I would teach them in exactly the same way that if you came to me and said, I just want to do better videos for TikTok, you're going to learn exactly the same thing. It's how
okay,
you apply it,
yeah.
basically. So you learn way more than you would do on any other workshop. And it also happens to be the sardine run, which is just it's unbelievable. It's
I'm not
you
familiar with
can't
what you see around the time of the sardine run. Can you talk to us about that?
so you get literally billions of sardines working their way from the very southern tip of South Africa up the eastern coast. So they get followed by sharks. So you're gonna get black tip sharks. You're gonna get bull sharks. There's a good chance of tigers, possibly hammerheads, duskies, copper sharks, and there is a possibility you're going to get great whites. They've had a couple of great white sightings where we're going recently in the last few weeks. You're going to get humpback whales. There's pretty much a 99% chance of humpbacks. Bridus whales, southern right whales, maybe. And this isn't just at the surface. This is on a dive. This is coming up right in front of you and swallowing hundreds of thousands of sardines.
Wow.
Sailfish, marlin, Dolphins, you're going to get dolphins for sure.
It's amazing how sardines can just bring out the entire
Yeah.
food web in a roundabout way like that.
Yeah, this workshop's about capturing predatory behavior. So you're in amongst this chaos of this big bait ball and just predators, and you don't know what's going to turn up. You've got no idea. There's going to be dolphins and there's going to be sharks. We know that, but you could have 30 sharks there. You could have 40 dolphins all flying in, and then out of nowhere, a giant humpback whale appears 5 feet away from you
And just
and
engulfs
swallows
them.
everything in its sight. It's that kind of thing. Seabirds, gannets coming in. It's just unbelievable. It's incredible. Wild diving with big predators, and learning how to capture that kind of thing and tell stories, and just everything from how do I log my footage to how do I deliver my footage in the best way that it's going to have the best kind of quality for Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. It's everything. And like, treating diving as it's taking you from being a diver with a camera to being an underwater cameraman. Basically, that's the kind of idea behind it.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. And again, guys, if you want to know more about it, you can email him. Which is your email on your socials?
I
can
think
reach
it
out
is.
via
Yeah, if it's
TikTok.
not on my social, just drop me a DM or
Yeah, you
leave
go.
me a
He's
comment,
DM on TikTok.
and I'll get back to you straight away.
We've got the link to his TikTok pinned in the chat right now, right up the top of the chat. And yeah, that's. Let me see. Did I have another? I think we had all. That was all the questions I had for you. South Africa trip. You wanted to talk about that? We covered that. Metal music. That's all. Yeah. Is there any other film projects you've worked on that you want to pitch?
There is a documentary which we're finishing off hopefully in November called Legend of Landy, which is an incredible story. We're hopefully finishing that off in November by sinking the biggest brass. Right, let me think how. It's the biggest brass sculpture head of a European person ever built. And we're going 400 miles into the middle of the Indian Ocean to drop it into the middle of the Indian Ocean as the end of the story. We filmed the main parts of it in Dubai last year in May. We're finishing that off hopefully in November. That's going to be an amazing documentary, Legend of Landy. There's a feature film which I'm working on in August, and I can't remember the name of it. But I would say the best place to find out about this stuff is my TikTok or Instagram. I always keep people quite updated on there. So
very good, very cool. Well, that's all I had for you. I did actually manage to dig up this, just like a quick riff I recorded for this Bull Shark song. If you want to hear that,
oh, cool.
It's very. So this is Bump and Bite. It's literally just a couple of riff ideas. It's very rough, and the timing is off. So like one of the drum beats is like completely off. I use drum emulator, so bear with me on it. But this is where I left it off at last time I touched it. There's no lyrics on it. I've already written them.
I'm not getting that come through at my end. Sorry. I've had to plug you in. You're falling over. Is that going to come through my computer here? Is that? I'm falling over again. Ah! Sorry, I've had to plug you in. My battery's about to go. I'll hold it.
This is the part where, like, as soon as it slows down, it'd be going, ah! Like, just switching to the screams and talking about, what did I say? Carcharinus Lucas, the bull of the sea. Carcharinus Lucas, don't need to see to feed, is the lyric. And just screaming that. And it goes a little bit like that.
Yeah, I can't hear it coming out of my end.
That's it. That's all I've done on it so far. I couldn't hear anything you said, but was it the sound that knocked your phone off the mount?
It was because I had to plug it in.
Oh,
Just play that again. Play it again because it wasn't coming through at mine. I need to turn it on my monitor here.
that's hilarious. All right, hold on.
I want to
So-
hear it. I need to turn it on my monitor here.
All right, I got you. Here we go.
I want to hear it.
All right, I got you. Here we go.
Good guitar sound.
I am the bullshot! Black open bites! Bites! Now imagine. Cockeritis Lucas! The bull of the sea! Vision is a weakness! Don't need to see defeat!
Might be a testament.
All right, well, now that I'm lightheaded, that's kind of where I'm going with it. And I know it looks funny because I've kind of got this Leave It to Beaver look going on, but it's not. But yeah, that's where my head's at with that one.
No, I like that. It reminds me of Testament. And
Oh my God, that's high praise. Would you believe I didn't discover Testament until like last year?
Oh, really?
No joke. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a Testament vibe to it. Maybe a little bit of suicidal tendencies, maybe.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking with it.
It's good guitar sound as well.
Yeah, I don't know what happened at some point. So my hard drive died last year, and I replaced it. And at somehow the timing got messed up, and like the two guitars are not quite in sync, and the drum is a little off. I use this drum synthesizer for Contact 7. It's a voice pack for Contact 7 called Extinction Level Event by this guy Glenn Fricker, and I really like it. They sound pretty natural, but I'm not an audio engineer, so like the nuances of the cache sizes and how that can affect timing is kind of lost on me. But if I spend enough time with it, I eventually figure it out. You know.
Well, I liked it. I want to hear the end result.
Thanks, man. I'll keep you posted. This is what I used to do on Thursday nights, but being here and talking to people and trying to be entertaining. It wasn't conducive with the same mindset and environment I need for being creative. And so like we ended up just playing a bunch of covers and jamming, and I would never actually work on anything. So I'm getting to the point now where I need to make time to work on that stuff off stream, and then we can come and have like a metal night and actually show what I've been working on, you know?
I think it's great. You've got a really great community. I think you're doing brilliant things. I think it's interesting, it's different what you're doing, kind of combining all your sort of interests and passions. I think it's great. I really do. I think it's brilliant.
Thank
so
you, man.
I
That
love
means a
being
lot.
here. I'll come back anytime you ask me to come back. I think it's great. I really, really enjoy this.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I had a great time too. But on that note, I know it's like the wee hours of the morning over there, so I won't keep you.
Yeah,
any
it's
longer.
at 3:30, so I bet I'd go to bed at some point.
Oh my goodness, yeah, get on that. I'm gonna do the same now that I went and burned out my vocals. So thanks again for coming by, y'all. This has been David Diley. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back here tomorrow for oh my gosh, I forgot. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm recording a navigation voice pack for Waze. I'm gonna be Hank Hill from King of the Hill and tell you when to turn left and right. So that's gonna be. We'll do anything to try and go viral, right? We gotta reach people somehow.
Well, you're doing a great job, and thank you to everyone that's stuck around. It's been really good to talk to you guys. Yeah, like I said, I'll be back anytime you want me. I think it's great. You guys are awesome.
We'd love to have you. Thanks again, and we'll leave it there for the night. I'm gonna find us a raid target, but take it easy, man. Have a good one.
Good to talk to you again. I'll speak to you soon.